And the Washington County Quorum Court is now called to session. We've got a big crowd. We're going to try to get through and move through our agenda. First, I do want to say happy birthday to Washington County. Today we are 191 years old. We became the 17th county in the state of Arkansas, and so what an appropriate time that we have in Quorum Court and we can say happy birthday to our county, named after our first president, which is George Washington. And so again, happy birthday to Washington County. Let's go ahead and jump in. J.P. Hires, will you lead us in prayer and pledge?
As we gather here today as members of this governing body, we pray that we are ever mindful of the opportunity to serve our fellow citizens and community. Guide us to be humble stewards of our county, that we act in the best interest of the people of our county, and be ever mindful of our words, thoughts, and deeds. With these words we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, J.P. Hires. Adoption of the agenda.
I move adoption of the agenda with the two additions that are on our desks and changing numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 in the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
Second.
2. All right, let's make sure I got that. So with the addition of 2, I think we had 2 conditional use permits added to the agenda. So that's adding those 2, and then off the consent agenda, taking off what numbers?
2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Mr. Chairman, could I also move the 2 conditional use permits to
7C and B.
7C and B.
19I-112 and 19I-13. The Munyon Road Wireless and the Tom Tackle and Bait Shop.
The people are here, and it would be a long wait. End of my motion.
To what? To 7C and 7C.
And I seconded it.
All right, make sure I got those. Thirteen, 14. Okay. So we are looking at the adoption of the agenda with the 2 additional items. J.P. Deacon.
Can I also move that we take items 6 and 7 off the consent agenda? I feel like those are also raises, so if we're going to take some of them off, we should take all of them off.
6 and 7.
Second.
Okay. All right. J.P. Duncan.
It appears that number 1 also is a raise, so I'd move that we remove that as well.
All right, now let me, all right. So all the consent agenda items of 1 through 7 will be moved to item 14. And then committee reports will be number 15. One through 7. Okay. So we have the adoption of the agenda, adding the 2 addition and moving the first 7 consent agenda items. And we had a second. Oh, you wanted to move?
I want to move item 19I-112 and 19I-113 to item 7B and 7C.
7.
That's the Munyon Road Wireless and the Tom Tackle. Do what? No, okay. That's what I was trying to do.
Completely from the agenda, table it till next.
Why is that?
Because it didn't come in. That's the one that on the consent agenda. This is the one that there was that accounting issue, and so this is that 67.5 that we're still waiting on.
Okay. So J.P. Lemming on the number 1319-1. I guess that information did not get in.
No, we're adding that one.
Yeah, I mean, but the particulars for it has not come in, so you guys wouldn't have that, so we can pull that one totally off.
On the consent agenda.
Off the consent agenda.
It wasn't on the consent agenda. These two, neither one was.
Oh,
No,
got
this
it.
is 13 on the consent agenda. It's
Number-
on there, number 13,
Number 13 on the consent agenda.
67,500.
It shouldn't have been on there.
Move it to item 8 on the
No, it needs to be
regular agenda.
tabled to next month. No.
Why, okay.
Okay, item 13, the ordinance recognizing the amount of $67,500 in the Rural Community Grant Fund for 2019 was passed out of Finance and Budget. However, there was an accounting issue, am I correct, Patty? That this needs to be tabled till next month because of a holdup in the, postponed till next month because of an issue with the money not, something happened with the money and it didn't get sent, won't be here till next week. And so this
So we
one,
can't pass it.
the grants has asked that we will postpone this till next month when the money is actually here that we can then appropriate. That makes sense?
Okay.
That's what I was told.
But the items we have in these two new ordinances, one is 19I13, 113. That's the item number, and it's Tom's Tackle and Bait Shop.
Correct. That's what we're adding. This is
Okay.
item number 19-I-102.
Okay.
19I-102 needs to be postponed until next month's Quorum Court meeting.
Okay. So did we
Okay.
get the other ordinance added, the Munyon Road wireless?
I saw that one in.
I just want to move it up to the front because we got a lot to do.
All right, so let's move that to, yes, number 8,
Yep. Thank you.
Munyon. Okay. All right, so let me take that one. So we adopted an agenda, one addition. Two addition, we're taking and 1 through 7 off the consent, including number 13. Removing that one off the consent agenda. Postponing to next month. Okay, and now, who seconded the J.P. Lemmings? Okay. Approval of the agenda as amended. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, we got through that one. All right. Preliminary motions?
Move we suspend the rules and read ordinances by title only.
Second.
All right.
And resolutions. Do we have any resolutions?
We have a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only, as well as resolutions. We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right. Citizen comments. We now invite citizens to come and visit with us. We have opportunity to hear from you.
How y'all doing?
Please state your name and where you live.
Sure. My name is Rick Chrisman. I live at 15607 Sumac Circle out in Weddington Woods. I'm here just to briefly comment about the red dirt farm that you guys will be voting on tonight that's going out there. Obviously, by looking at me, you can tell I'm a police officer. I'm the chief of police up in Cave Springs. I work in Benton County, but I live in Washington County. I love Washington County. But some of the concerns that I had was with this red dirt farm. I'm probably maybe at best a quarter of a mile from it, at best. You can see it from my house. I have to travel past it every single day. So does my wife, so does my child. They have to drive that way. But what I really wanted to talk about was, you know, I noticed there was a traffic study that was put out there about a week before school started. And that traffic study came back. Obviously, I've done traffic studies. I worked for Fayetteville Police Department for many years in their community policing division, and I did traffic studies. And I do traffic studies in Cave Springs. I struggled with trying to get 112 and 264 lowered, the speed limit, with the state. And I learned a lot about how these speed limits are changed at the state level anyway, on state highways. So my concern was just one day, I believe it was like July 23rd, that the speed limit had changed from 45 to 35 for no reason. So obviously, trying to figure out why. Why was that speed limit lowered? The traffic study that was conducted in July says that the 85th percentile of the cars traveling on that road are doing 48 miles an hour. So by lowering the speed, you have just created a problem. It wasn't a problem, but now there is a problem of speeding. But the 85th percentile, and that is what the state uses to regulate state highways to determine speed limits, is the 85th percentile. So that first study that was done came back 48 miles an hour was the 85th percentile. And then at the Planning Commission meeting, I brought that up. And then there was another study done shortly thereafter, and school was in session, so we could get an accurate count of how many vehicles are driving across that strip. But the 85th percentile on that study, 45.4. Speed limit sign changed, but the speed didn't. So the next step was, okay, so why was this changed? I'm trying to think of this. Well, maybe there's a lot of accidents out there. Maybe that's an issue. Well, a call was made down to Washington County Sheriff's Department to figure out how many accidents had occurred from the Fayetteville city limits at Jack Perkins Drive all the way to 412 in Tawnytown. And I believe there was, what'd they say, 51 accidents. And not a single one of them was speed related. So, okay, so there's accidents on there, but none of them are speed related, so why would you change the speed limit?
Your time is coming, so go ahead, give me.
Okay, so my question is, and I'm going to steal a saying that Sheriff Tim Helder used a lot. Perception is reality. What we perceive is what we believe. We're humans, we do that. So I perceive that for some reason this traffic study, or this speed limit was lowered. This is my perception, and I'm pretty sure the majority of the people here, is for one person, so he can have a red dirt mine and be able to pull out of that road.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Public comments, come on. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Leila Hampton. I live at 13441 Persimmon Lane, which is basically just across the street from the mine. We've lived out there for 40 years. That is not, the road is not made for a dump truck exit. It's Little County Road. It's got no shoulders. Where the exit is at the bottom of a very, very steep hill with a blind curve at the bottom. You cannot stop. We've got 3 Farmington school buses out there twice a day that have 65 kids on them that are not in seat belts because I guess school buses don't have seat belts. There's no way that a bus coming down that hill at 3:15 loaded with kids can stop with a dump truck halfway out in that road. It's going to be fatal. We can't allow this. It is just a safety issue. It's, you know, and it's unsafe for all of us going to work in the morning and coming home in the evening. Those dump truckers work from daylight till dark. We know for a fact, because my husband, who's coming up next, has worked on their trucks. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. Next.
My name is Lawrence Hampton. I live at 13441 Persimmon Lane in Weddington Woods. My property actually joins Harmon Road.
Speak in your mic so we can hear. Thanks.
Within less than a quarter of a mile from where he's going to put this exit. I've worked on dump trucks for 40 years. I've did maintenance work, repair work, service work on trucks for years. A majority of these dump trucks on the road today would not pass a DOT inspection. I want everybody to know that. I worked on trucks all my life, and I know a little bit about trucks. He said he wouldn't load an unsafe truck. Is he going to have a DOT inspector on site inspecting these trucks that he loads? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Serena Tustin, and I live at 13720 Redbud Drive. I work for local city government. I'm here to say that I'm against the dirt mine. I ask you tonight, as you consider this proposal, to put your home within a quarter mile of this dirt mine, where you live right now. And it was coming into your place of residence. I ask you to consider how your property value will be devalued from it. I just recently got to build my dream home within a quarter mile of this. I've worked hard for 20 years on this home and finally got to move in a week ago. I'm afraid my home's value is going to drastically decrease because of this dirt mine if it's approved tonight. Not only that, what if you were on well water out here in this property area and the blasting that goes on? Your well water could be dried up because it can shift the water tables. The creek that you may have in your backyard may go away or be filled with red dirt. Consider that next door to your home and where you live right now. That is some of the things that us as residents in this area are facing, things that we have to consider. What about foundational issues? I just recently got my dream home. The blasting that goes on could cause foundational issues for my home in the next couple of years. Cracks in the walls, around the doors, in the foundation itself. I also want to reiterate what the other three parties have spoken about in regards to the dangerousness of where this entrance is planned to be, not only for the children in the school buses, but for regular folks that are driving that road every day. And if you haven't been out in that area, there is a downhill sharp curve to the right when you're going northwest on that road. You cannot see the drive as you're going down that hill. It's only as you get to the bottom of the hill and make the curve and you're within 150 to 200 feet of the driveway that you finally see that there's an entrance that's there. It can be very dangerous. So as tonight progresses, I still ask you to consider in the back of your mind, what if my home was there? How would I feel right now if I was the one that was having to sit in front of this group of folks that have the choice to make the decision that we're here representing tonight? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Lloyd Miller. I live at 16013 Cedar Lane, Fayetteville, Arkansas. If you approve this project, you're signing a death warrant. Now, who are you signing a death warrant to? You signing for me or my family, or who are you signing it for? That's what you got there. When the citizen got to speak, there was going to be a lane for trucks to go to climb that deal. There is no trucks lane right now for them to there. If they go up that hill, they're going to lose half their load. If you have gravel on it, it's going to get stuck in their tires and break your windshield. The people, this is death looking for a place to happen. The people at Weddington Woods paid for that road, from Harmon Road all the way to the bridge. And now you're going to tear it up by having those trucks there. The individual that wanted to do it was going to turn right. That is not the truck for a road. If you're going to go left, you're going to have also tear it up, that road. And you're going to have it when in Harmon Road meets 16. Nobody from Weddington Woods is going to go out that way. They're going to go the other way. If you're going the other way, you're signing a death warrant. That is if it's raining, it's going to go down at a very fast pace. The individual that previously talked about this and wanted to do it, the individuals wouldn't say no, but gave many reasons why they couldn't do it. Now, where's that person? The only thing that you can do is lowering the speed limit, because if you lowered it anymore, where you turn off to go to the dirt mine, that's where it's there. And it is a death prayer looking for a place to happen. Thank you very much for your time and your listening to me.
Thanks, Mr. Miller. Next.
Good evening, folks. My name is Phil Jones. I live at 13516 Dogwood Drive, another Weddington Woods, folks. A neighbor that has property adjacent to the haul-out road, the driveway that comes down that everybody's concerned with, has done some research and written a letter. She's not available tonight. She asked me to read this letter to you. I think it will directly affect the permitting procedure. That's what this is all about. So let me just read it to you real quick, please. To Judge Wood and all justices of the peace, my name is Pamela L. Daub. I am sorry I am unable to attend tonight. I recently had surgery and am still convalescing. Only one page, guys. So I have asked my neighbor to deliver my message to you tonight. I am the trustee of the property immediately adjacent to the Weddington Mine LLC property on the north boundary. I have concerns that the mining permit recently obtained by the previously mentioned corporation is either improperly licensed under APC and EC Regulation 15 or is currently in violation of said regulation. Definitions under Regulation 15 state that the permit area for a mining operation includes a contiguous area of affected land. Both permitting instances define the haul road as being part of said affected land. The legal description provided to ADEQ for his permit area did not include his haul road, which regulations say must be clearly marked. It was not. In addition, Part 6 of the standard permit conditions state, item F, that if a permit area is near a waterway, an undisturbed buffer zone of 100 feet must be maintained between the permit boundary and the ordinary high water mark of the waterway. Regulation 15 defines a waterway as a natural channel of any perennial or intermittent river, creek, or stream. The haul road, a required part of the permit area, is currently approximately 20 feet, not 100, 20 feet from a perennial stream that runs through my property. Also, Part 6 of the standard permit conditions, item G, says an undisturbed buffer zone of 50 feet must be maintained from any adjacent property line. The haul road is about 10 feet from my fence. Regulation 15 further states that a variance can be approved for the undisturbed buffer zone of 50 feet at the adjoining property lines, but no one has ever approached me for this variance. Last sentence, it is my opinion that this haul road needs to be moved further south at least 80 feet to comply with ADEQ regulations. If it's moved south 80 feet, the line of sight is really going to be thrown out, what everybody's been complaining about. Okay. She has supporting evidence. She's done a great job on the research. It's all back here in yellow. I'd like to give this to someone and make darn sure everybody understands what this lady's saying.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anybody want this?
Go ahead.
8 seconds.
8 seconds, unless we, 8 seconds. You're not going to be able to read that fast.
I'm done.
Mr. Chair.
I'll make a motion to extend.
We got a motion to suspend the rules to continue to let you speak, and we got a second. All in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Fleming.
We suspend. All right, we're looking to suspend the rules.
And add how much time?
3 more minutes.
3 more minutes. Okay, and got a second by J.P. Madison to suspend the rule to allow 3 more minutes of public comments. Go ahead, state your name.
All right.
All in favor? Those opposed? Okay.
My name is Bill Robertson. I live at 13436 Mimosa Lane here in Fayetteville. I've been a resident of Weddington Woods for 30 years. I'm here to address property values. I think we all agree that most of the property values in Washington County are either stable or increasing, but I've got some information that we've obtained from various courthouse records that shows that that's not the case in the affected areas out west of western Washington County, where all this dirt mine activity is taking places. This first is the assessment on parcel values by the County Board of Equalization. I've got 16 tracts here located in the current Rogers mining area on Martin, Hamstring, Riches, Harp Roads, near the epicenter of the current mining activity, that shows devaluations by the Board of Equalization of 20 to 30% in a period between 2008 and 2015. I've heard of owners of these parcels who have been granted moratoriums on revaluation of these parcels for up to 10 years where there will not be an increase in value. The question becomes then, how much of this tax base are we willing to give up for these mining activities due to the devaluation? I'd ask the question, are these mining operations benefiting the county more than our tax dollars out here in western Washington County? It seems like the county is giving up some tax dollars here at our expense because we're losing value on our properties, and somebody's going to benefit, but it's not going to be the county or us property owners. The second thing I've got here is a list of comparative sales, comparing sales in Weddington Woods versus the Hamstring mining area. And I've got several comparative sales here, but it shows that the average length of time on the market for Weddington Wood homes that haven't been affected by the mining activity so far is 59 days, where those Hamstring mining parcels, they're sitting on twice as long, 93-day average for their sold. The average square foot per price in Weddington Woods on these sales is $119 a square foot. In the mining area in Hamstring, they're $84 a square foot. So those guys are already seeing devaluation, and they're already going before the Board of Equalization. And I just wonder how many people are eligible for this reduction in tax on their parcels, and how many more are going to be eligible if this mine goes into effect in the Weddington Woods area. There's a lot of money you're giving up here for this thing. Are you getting that much benefit out of it? I just asked that question, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Any other public comments? And there'll be another. Oh, is that the three? Okay. There'll be another time in the when we get to that item on the agenda. Okay, so we're on item.
Judge.
JP Yanez.
So there's two young ladies back here with a sign. Can we ask it to hold them up so their voices are heard?
Say it again. Okay. Item 7.
Thank you.
Okay. We're on item 7. Oh, 9, 6. With the approval of the minutes.
Judge, they want me to read what they say. Okay.
You have to suspend the rules.
I'd like to suspend the rules and have them come up here
Ask to suspend the rules to do
for
what?
1 minute to allow them to come up here and read their signs.
Okay. I got a motion to suspend the rules, a second to suspend the rule for 1 minute so the young ladies can come. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
My name is Noel Napier.
And my
sign says, keep our roads safe.
And do you know your address? Noel lives on Mimosa Lane.
Say it again. I missed it.
What's your address?
Mimosa Lane. Okay.
Mimosa Lane in Weddington Woods.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Say your name.
My name is Ethne, and
Napier.
Ethne Napier.
Do you know your address?
No.
Weddington Woods.
Yeah, Weddington Woods.
Mimosa Lane.
And my sign says, don't turn our neighborhood into a mine. The dynamite shakes our house a lot.
All right. Thank you, Miss Anthony, Miss Noel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Noel. Okay.
Do we need adoption of the minutes?
Any corrections on the minutes? Have we gone through the minutes? Any corrections? Otherwise, we'll go ahead and approve the minutes.
Approve the minutes.
Minutes, a motion to approve the minutes, a second. All in favor? Those opposed? The minutes been approved. Item 7, judge's report. With so much going on, I only have a few items. In your package, you have the county disposal report, the county library report. That should be in your packet. I also wanted to clarify any miscommunication and give kudos to J.P. Harbison, who will touch on this probably during her committee report. She's working with me. She's been in my office, even in fact, last week, and working with all the elected officials on raises for all employees. This is still in process. I know this is a desire of the elected officials, and they're, again, working on behalf of all the county employees to make this possible. And so, again, thank J.P. Harbison for continuing to work through this process. But again, I want to make sure that if there's any doubt that there's still work to be done toward that end. So again, thank you, J.P. Harbison, for leading that charge and working with all the elected officials. Our county clerk, Becky Llewellyn, was selected by the governor to work on a task force, which is the Arkansas Census Complete Count Task Force. And that's really to get everybody geared up for the census and counting everyone. And so the census will kick off April 1st. That's when homes and everyone will be getting invitations to participate in the survey. She's been selected because the task force will really be focused on promoting and driving and what can we do to find and count everyone. And again, that is going to be the big drive and push to get the census. And so again, I want to acknowledge Becky Llewellyn for being selected on that task force, but stay tuned, more will be seen on our website as well as things coming out of the county clerk's office, et cetera. We want to make sure that all are counted here in the county, because that turns into making sure that we have adequate services and adequate dollars coming in from our government. Big thanks to our teachers. I want to give a big shout to Jerry Pop Williams Elementary, J.P. Jenkins, and the number three additional teachers there. Their third graders had me come in and visit with them, and I tell you, I was never so impressed with some third graders. I mean, just good questions, just very engaged, very participative. Yes.
I just want to take credit for Noelle's public speaking because she was in my class last year, so.
All right.
Just kidding, totally kidding. We enjoyed your visit too. Thank you for coming. Visit.
And I tell you, if you don't get out of there, you told me get out of there in the nick of time, because I mean, I was the number of cars out there going to pick up them kids. Oh my word. Last thing, I want to do something. So the Telly Awards, some of you guys may know what that is. They recognize and honor television commercials, production, non-broadcast videos, et cetera. And during their 40th anniversary award ceremony this year, Washington County was recognized and awarded the Bronze Award for our environmental services group, who put a video together and really focusing on our waters and our highways with tire, waste, land, what's the word I'm calling, side dumps. Illegal dumping, illegal dump sites. And so really excited for the fact that, one, our rationale getting behind it was just to inform people about if you see it and you see tires on the side of the road, if you see people dumping trash, it's to make people aware so we can get out there and work with our partners to go and get that cleaned up. And we did that. A lot of the schools have now seen it, the high schools, the grade schools, and it's really taken a lot of traction. Anyway, the video made it and actually was awarded a Bronze Award. And so I would like to see if Andrew Coleman is here, our Director of Environmental Taylor, Chief. You guys please stand. Can we give these guys a hand? Dewey, come on up here. You got the award. Let's see the hardware. Come on up here.
This award has 4 names on it, and one of them is Judge Joseph Wood. So this was an educational grant given to us through Boston Mountain. Taylor is our Boston Mountain representative, entirely funded by Boston Mountain. So, and she's the one that does the presentation.
Let's keep our environment, be good stewards of our environment. Thanks, you guys. Congratulations. Pass it. That's heavy. Again, congratulations, environmental team. You guys do a fantastic job keeping our waterways and our roads clear of debris and making sure we have safe water. And let's make sure that we continue to keep a focus on being good stewards of the environment that we've been entrusted to. With that, let's go ahead and go to item 8, which is going to be the Munyon consent agenda. Munyon Road. So, J.P. Lemon, you want to go ahead with that one?
What this is a new cell tower, which is really needed in that area. There is no cell service whatsoever. And this tower also could be a part of the AWIN system if needed, and it also may be part of the FirstNet system that comes along. So it's a really important item that needs to be done.
Counsel, you want to read the title?
Yeah, what would you read it for us? Sorry.
An emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board.
And this is an emergency, so.
I move to adopt it or pass it.
No. So there's a motion on the floor to ratify the conditional use permit for this particular ordinance, a second by J.P. Madison. Any discussion?
Harbison.
Who was that? J.P. who?
And
Harbison. Okay, J.P. Harbison. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any public comments? Ms. Patty?
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson, Susan Cunningham, Harvey Bowman, Judith Yanez, Patrick Deakins, Lisa Ecke, Sam Duncan, Eva Madison, Andrea Jenkins, Suki Hires, Sue Madison, Willie Lemming, Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Passes.
All right, that ordinance passes. Item, what, emergency CUP, J.P. Madison, you want to grab that one? The Johnson and Smith? Oh, is that one's yours? JP?
Yeah, that's,
okay.
They're wanting to put a little tackle shop in down there at Bud Kid Lake. Back when they built the lake, they had one, and it didn't stay, but these people want to try one, and I talked to the city of Perry Grove. It's in their planning area, and they had no problem with it. It looked good for them.
Want to read the title?
Yes.
It's an emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Any discussion? Well, motion?
I make a motion to pass.
Second.
I got a motion by J.P. Lemon, second by J.P. Madison. Discussion? Any discussion? Public comments? Any public comments? Or Ms. Patty?
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson, Susan Cunningham, Harvey Bowman, Judith Yanez, Patrick Deakins, Lisa Ecke, Sam Duncan, Eva Madison, Andrea Jenkins, Suki Hires, Sue Madison, Willie Lemming, and Anna Harbison.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion passes. All right, now we are on to the consent agenda items, I think 8 through,
I move passage of the items on the consent agenda.
we got a motion to approve those items on the consent agenda, a second by J.P. Jenkins. Go ahead, read each one.
And just to clarify, this will be a motion to pass items 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 14 on the consent agenda. Item 8 is a line item transfer request from the Road Department. Item 9 is an ordinance appropriating money in the Circuit Court 7 budget for 2019. Item 10 is an ordinance anticipating additional revenues of $929,761 in the DEM grant fund and appropriating the amount of $929,761 from the DEM grant fund to various Homeland Security budgets for 2019. Item 11 is an ordinance reducing the total amount of $145,000 from the Rural Community Grant Fund and appropriating the amount of $145,000 to the asphalt line item in the Road Department budget for 2019. Item 12 is an ordinance anticipating revenues of $53,000 in the Arkansas Heritage Preservation Program Grant Fund and appropriating $53,000 to various line items in the Arkansas Heritage Preservation Program budget for 2019. Item 14 is an ordinance appropriating additional revenues of $88,371.49 from the general fund to various line items in the sheriff's budget for 2019.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Public comments? Ms. Patty?
Butch Pond.
Yes.
Lance Johnson.
Yes.
Susan Cunningham.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Judith Yanez.
Yes.
Patrick Deakins.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Sam Duncan.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins.
Yes.
Suki Hires.
Yes.
Sue Madison.
Yes.
Willie Lemming.
Yes.
And Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Okay, the consent agenda items pass. All right, on to item 9. So we have the Weddington Mine Red Dirt Appeal. We'll first start with our planning team. I think Nathan, is Nathan here? There he is. So he'll come up and he'll do a presentation, and then we'll see if there's any departments or public agencies that'll follow after that, followed by remarks by Weddington Mines and then the public. Nathan? Thank you. Director Crouch, go ahead, sir.
Point of order.
J.P. Harbison.
Turn your mic on.
The items that were taken off the consent agenda, shouldn't they be processed before we start the dirt mine?
We put them on item number 14.
You put them on 14?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Mhm.
Go full page. Getting the full page on that?
No signal. Same as we had in the presentation.
Just waiting for the presentation to load. Is the presentation showing up on this TV? Then I'm at a loss if we can't get it to on any of the TVs. I'm looking for some. I'd prefer to have the microphone. We do have a mic, and I can do it from right there. It's your call, sir. Oh. All right.
Huh.
Let me get out of the way.
Yeah, that's fine if you want to present it.
Is that the same?
Those real estate comps I told you about?
Yeah, that's up to you.
Well, now or later.
That's fine. You can present it now and see if they.
Would you be able to do it from Patty's seat?
Yes.
There's some documents that didn't come in.
And just everybody on the,
Yeah, the main.
Get them to the
But I think we'll have the presentation on the website.
Okay.
Okay. So Nathan, let's go ahead and take 5. Go ahead and pass the documents as they go ahead and continue work. We're going to take 5.
What's your name? I'll sit here, sir. Yes, ma'am.
It looks like the TVs are not showing. We had a little problem earlier trying to get it to show.
Last time it was the console.
Yeah. So I think we tried to like do the console, but it's not showing up. Okay. You want me to just call?
That's what I said.
real estate comps that were put together by the assessor for the surrounding area around the mine. 2 pages, and then these 2 pages are just the conditions that were approved. Conditions
I
of
forgot you
approval
can't use
that were approved at the planning board.
Just dream, but present. I mean,
Is that what we're wanting to do here? Thank you. All right. Let me pop this in and see if it works for us.
Let me move this.
Yep.
In front of this thing.
All right. Thank you, man.
Wait, no?
Did it go off? Oh, no. Okay. Thank you. The proposed Weddington mine is located just west of Fayetteville, taking access from Harmon Road, Washington County Road 31, near the entrance to the Weddington Woods subdivision. The conditional use permit request is to review the 3 parcels for suitability for mining and compatibility with zoning. This diagram shows the desired intent of the CUP request. Parcel A is the entry to the proposed red dirt mine, and parcels B and C are where the mining will occur. When the previous owner sold the subject property at auction, the applicant purchased approximately half the property and the Hunt Rogers Quarry purchased the other half. With this purchase, the proposed Weddington mine is adjacent to Hunt Rogers Quarry property. Here's a copy of the approved general permit to engage in open cut mining the applicant has received from ADEQ dated May 9th this year. The applicant obtained ADEQ approval prior to submitting his CUP request. The boundary survey and legal description of the property shows it at 60.83 acres. The applicant's ADEQ permit is a general mining permit issued for mining operations not to exceed 20 acres over the life of the mine. ADEQ issues individual permits for mining operations that will exceed 20 acres over the life of the mine. Both of the permits require a notice of intent, or NOI, to be submitted with the permit application. The applicant initially submitted the survey and legal description for the entire 60 acres, but has now submitted this survey drawing showing the 20 acres to be mined and the first 4 acres to be opened up. The set of diagrams shows how the mining will progress across the 20-acre mine. As I flip through the slides, you can see as the open mining area increases, the reclaimed area increases such that only 4 acres are being actively mined at a time, like this. This excerpt from the Washington County's future land use plan shows this location as residential, compatible to surrounding densities. This is Washington County's future land use plan. According to the plan, here are the only areas in the county designated for industrial use. Both of the quarries are located just outside of city planning areas, and the industrial zone on the southeast side of Fayetteville, down Armstrong Road, has been annexed into Fayetteville city limits now, so it is no longer under the county's jurisdiction for zoning or land development. Bottom line is there are no additional areas designated for mining land use, and the existing mines that were grandfathered into compliance with zoning are slowly reaching the end of their functional lifespans. And yet county population is still growing, along with the need for this red dirt building material. However, there are several dirt pits, both active and inactive, and a large limestone quarry in the vicinity of this proposed red dirt mine. The Lindsay red dirt mine at the top left of the map is just over 2 miles away from the proposed Weddington mine and is very close to the west side of Weddington Woods. It has been in operation since 2001 and is considered and is grandfathered into compliance with zoning. The Les Rogers dirt pit, shown here with the number 2, has been reclaimed and is no longer active. It is located directly across the road from Weddington Woods Subdivision, Unit 7, which received final subdivision plat approval in 1973. According to Google Earth imagery, the Les Rogers red dirt mine operated there since approximately 2001, so it was also grandfathered into compliance with zoning. Numbers 4 and 5, Presley and Luttrell, are both inside Fayetteville city limits, but Luttrell was operating in 2001, and the Hunt Rogers Quarry, number 3 on the map, was already a substantial operation at the beginning of 2001 and is considered grandfathered into compliance with zoning. This map shows the subject parcels in light blue in the center of the map, and all of the neighboring parcels within the half-mile neighbor notification area in light green. And that should have been quarter mile. Pardon me. These are the 178 neighboring parcels owned by 140 neighbors that the notification letter and comment forms were mailed to initially. This map shows all of the neighboring properties that received the neighbor notification letters in light blue, with the properties that submitted opposed comment forms showing in light red. To date, there have been 49 comments submitted in opposition to this CUP proposal, including 4 duplicates. In addition to the phone, mail, and email comments received in opposition to the CUP proposal, a petition against the CUP request has been submitted with 34 signatures. The properties shown here in orange represent the petition signatures. This map is a composite of all the mailed, emailed, phone, and petition opposing planning, This map is a composite of all the mailed, emailed, phone, and petition opposition planning staff has received up to the time of the planning board meeting in August. Of the 140 notification letters mailed out, opposition has been expressed by 49 individuals plus the petition with 34 signatures. The site distance determination used during the previous Rich Red Dirt CUP review was taken from a proposed location in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. Now that the proposed haul road has been constructed, the site distance has been accurately measured by the Washington County Road Department and found to be 440 feet for a left-hand turn, where the requirement is 390 in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. Site distance to the left is adequate. This image shows the approach to the proposed entrance from the south at the edge of site visibility. The site distance to the right was measured at 836 feet, where the requirement is 335 in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. Site distance to the right is adequate. And this image shows the approach to the proposed entrance from the north at the edge of site visibility. When determining the site distance requirement, I used the site distance table found in the book entitled A Policy on Geometric Design of Highways and Streets, which is the table approved for use by the County Road Department for determining intersection site distance. Some may say that this table is inadequate for heavily loaded trucks, so I asked the question to the Road Department and was told that this is the appropriate table to use since the majority of the vehicular traffic is passenger cars and trucks. The Washington County Road Department is conducting a traffic study on Harmon Road, collecting traffic data to use in their decision-making regarding widening Harmon Road to 4 lanes. This traffic study and others will be integrated into the county's 5-year road plan, which should be finalized and released this month. The 5-year road plan report shows Harmon Road scheduled for maintenance and possible upgrades in 2024. The Road Department has evaluated the length of Harmon Road with respect to speed limit, design speed, curves, hills, site distance around curves, etc., and has made the determination to lower the speed limit to 35 miles per hour along this 3.9-mile section of road. The county contract engineering company, Garver and Associates, was commissioned to conduct a road study and to report back with their findings as a second opinion. In Washington County's study, the traffic counters were deployed to the location just south of Dogwood Drive, the southern Weddington Woods subdivision entrance, for a period of 1 week. The following data was collected from those counters. This summary shows this section of Harmon Road to have average daily traffic of 1,487 vehicles. This data shows the peak hours for volume and speed. The peak hour for traffic volume on weekday mornings from 7:15 to 8:15 a.m. is 116 vehicles on average, and weekday afternoons from 4:45 to 5:45 p.m. is 144 vehicles. Weekend peak volumes are from 10:15 to 11:15 a.m. with 88 vehicles on average, and 4 to 5 p.m. with 109 vehicles. Peak speed in the mornings is from 12 to 1 a.m. at 40.7 miles per hour, and again from 5 to 6 a.m. at 41.6. Peak speed in the evenings is from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. at 41.9 miles per hour, and again from 10:30 to 11:30 at 41.9 miles per hour. Due to the peak volume hours, planning staff recommended a condition of approval that this red dirt mine will not allow loaded trucks to exit the mine onto Harmon Road during the peak volume hours from 7 to 8:30 a.m. and from 4:30 to 6 p.m. on weekdays, and 10 to 11:30 a.m. and 4 to 5 p.m. on weekends. An additional condition of approval is that a sign be placed at the Hall Road exit, visible to drivers exiting the mine onto Harmon Road, to say loaded trucks must not exit the mine onto Harmon Road during those hours of peak volume. This speed chart of both lanes combined shows 70% of traffic exceeding the 35 mile per hour speed limit. This speed class versus time chart shows the hours of the day and the higher volumes of traffic occurring during particular hours of the day. Nearly every hour of the day from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. shows vehicles traveling over 60 miles per hour through this section of road. This is an unsafe speed. This section of road has a posted speed limit now, and when vehicles are speeding, it is a legal matter, not planning and zoning. Property owners are not responsible for making accommodations for unsafe drivers. Yes, sir.
I just ask that we just let him go through his presentation. You'll have a chance to come in and have your comments. Go ahead, Nathan Crouch.
This is the exhibit submitted by Garver and Associates detailing the characteristics of the road as determined by the road study they completed at the road department's request. If you zoom into the area in question, you can see that curve number 6 is the closest curve to the proposed Hall Road entrance when vehicles are traveling down the hill northbound. According to the horizontal curve data in the table on the left, the design speed of the road is 35 miles per hour, and according to the vertical curve data in the table on the right, the design speed of the road is 30 miles per hour. Washington County's traffic study made determinations based on volumes, number of axles, speeds, etc., whereas Garver's second opinion road study supported that determination based on the character of the road. At the planning board meeting in August, planning staff recommended approval of the proposed Weddington Mine conditional use permit with conditions. And there was an additional condition added at the meeting which reads, quote, a northbound side lane is required for dump trucks to exit the roadway before entering the mine. There have been updates sent in by the community to add to the body of information for this project, including number 1, an additional traffic study conducted by Ernest Peters, a traffic engineer based here in Arkansas. Number 2, a real estate devaluation document from the Washington County Board of Equalization dated August 2015, submitted by Mr. Jim Gallagher. Number 3, letter of opposition submitted by Travis Warren, Farmington School Board President. Number 4, letter of opposition submitted by Michelle Couch, Rural Mail Carrier. Number 5, appeal form submitted by Leela Hampton. Number 6, appeal form submitted by Terry Davis Beaupre. Now I'll quickly go through them. In the conclusion of the traffic study submitted by traffic engineer Mr. Peters, it reads, comments on safety under the 2014 Washington County findings states, the 45 mile per hour speed limit is an adequate speed limit for this road. There are still questions of whether the proposed location of the Hall Road's intersection with Harmon will provide for a safe situation for traffic on Harmon Road. Comments on safety under the 2019 Washington County findings states, intersection sight distance meets the requirement. Possible damage to Harmon Road over time that the trucks will cause should be taken into account. The road department will begin conducting traffic studies on all the county roads that connect to Harmon Road in order to get traffic volumes and make informed decisions regarding upgrades to the roadway. Comments on safety under the 2019 Peters and Associates Engineers finding states, large trucks require longer gaps between oncoming traffic to safely make left or right turns from a stop condition than that of ordinary passenger vehicles. And it goes on to state, comparing AASHTO required intersection sight distance to the measured sight distance results in the finding that the available intersection sight distance is insufficient to safely accommodate left turns for large trucks for either the posted 35 mile per hour speed limit or the 85th percentile speed of 48 miles per hour. This condition would be considered unsafe for large trucks to make left turns. And I believe Mr. Peters would like to address the court when the time is appropriate. Number 2, the notice of adjustment Mr. Gallagher received from the Washington County Board of Equalization during the 2015 countywide reappraisal dated August 2015 shows the property being devalued from $101,550 to $82,006. That was after the July 2015 notice showing the value was increased from 2014 to 2015. I believe Mr. Gallagher would like to address the court when the time is appropriate as well. The Farmington School Board President wrote a letter opposing the proposed development. It reads, "My name is Travis Warren and I am the School Board President of Farmington Public Schools. I'm writing to voice my concerns in opposition to the proposed mining operation on Harmon Road. Farmington Schools has 2 route buses and 1 special needs bus that travel Harmon Road twice every school day. I'm concerned for the safety of our bus riders because of the location of the haul road at the base of Harmon Hill. Even with the reduced speed limit, there is not enough sight distance for a loaded dump truck to safely make a left-hand turn from the haul road onto Harmon Road. According to the 2 traffic studies I have reviewed, this maneuver may take up to 9.5 seconds. The safety of our students and the public is a primary concern." Number 4, in the mail carrier's letter reads, "To whom it may concern, I am the mail carrier that delivers mail daily on that stretch of Harmon Road. The road they want the dump trucks to come in and out is at the bottom of the steep curved hill. While delivering mail on Hamstring Road, I discovered quickly that I was unable to deliver packages and contact mail due to the trucks. I'm not blaming the truck drivers, they have a job to do just like me, but they drive way too fast and reckless. I'm afraid it would be the same on Harmon Road. I took a pay cut so I wouldn't have to deliver on Hamstring Road anymore because of the trucks. Allowing the dump trucks to be run on Harmon Road will cause damage to the roads, is incredibly dangerous, and could cause irreparable harm to the community. Please don't allow this to happen." Leela Hampton appealed the Planning Board's approval of the CUP, citing the following reasons. The Washington County Zoning Board of Adjustment's lack of concern for the residents of Weddington Woods and the 65 children on school buses daily was very disturbing. Safety is important. No dump truck exit or entrance on Harmon Road. And the last one, Terry Davis Beaupre appealed the Planning Board's approval of the CUP, citing these reasons. The Washington County Zoning Board failed to show how the issues that formed the basis for the Zoning Board's prior denial of the CUP in 2014 has substantially changed during the last 5 years. Instead of addressing those issues and approving the current conditional use permit, it appears that the Zoning Board simply disregarded the facts that supported its 2014 decision to deny a request for red dirt mining on the property and arbitrarily declared that the current conditional use permit satisfies the requirements necessary to allow for mining on the residential property. The Zoning Board's decision to allow for red dirt mining runs counter to the Washington County Quorum Court's prior 11-1 decision to prohibit red dirt mining on the property. And I believe Mrs. Davis Beaupre is here to address the court also when the time is appropriate. In the staff report for this project, I listed the 3 main reasons this CUP request was denied in 2014. They are safety concerns regarding the proposed location of the Hall Road intersection with Harmon Road, issues of compatibility, and the likelihood that this project would be injurious to the use and enjoyment of some of the other property in the surrounding area for the purposes already permitted, and substantially diminish and impair some property values within the surrounding area. So regarding safety concerns regarding the proposed location of the Hall Road intersection with Harmon Road, the speed limit has been reduced, decreasing the length of the sight distance requirement. Hours of operation have been limited to prohibit the loaded trucks from leaving the site during peak times, during peak traffic times in the morning and the afternoon. Regarding issues of compatibility of the road, the subject property is adjacent to a quarry that produces a large amount of dump truck traffic onto a hilly county road also. Harmon is a major thoroughfare carrying nearly 1,500 vehicles per day through this community, including very large trash trucks in various sizes from all over northwest Arkansas. The infrastructure is in place to handle increased traffic volumes. Regarding compatibility of the property with regard to zoning, there are other quarries and dirt mines in the vicinity. Without having zones designated for high-impact industrial and mining land uses in our future land use, it does make sense to put more quarries and mines near other quarries and mines. And regarding compatibility with the property with regard to the neighbors, there are many neighbors who feel that an additional mine in this area would be detrimental to their use and enjoyment of their property, as well as negatively affecting property values and many other factors of everyday living. There's been a real estate devaluation notice, opposition from the school board president, and rural mail carrier describing the character of the road leading to the neighboring quarry, as well as a large number of comments submitted in opposition to the CUP. Regarding the likelihood that this project will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of some of the other property in the surrounding area and for purposes already permitted, and substantially diminish and impair some property values within the surrounding area, many neighbors from the community have expressed opposition for many reasons, including but not limited to decreased property values, noise, and road safety. And lastly, here's section 11-200, which outlines the 7 criteria for allowance of conditional uses. Planning staff's response is shown in bold next to each item. Items 1 through 3 have been objectively met by submitting an application and application fee, that neighbor notifications were mailed out according to county ordinance, and that adequate utilities, roads, drainage, and other public services are or will be made available and adequate if this request use is granted. Number 4, that the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding area. Staff comment this requested land use can be made compatible with the surrounding area with the proposed conditions of approval and through the high-impact, large-scale development review and approval process. Number 5, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use will not be detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. Staff comments, a number of neighbors have argued this proposed red dirt mine will be detrimental to these things. Number 6, that the conditional use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the surrounding area for the permitted purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish and impair property values within the surrounding area. Staff comment, there are multiple mines and large quarry in the vicinity, and staff is unaware of any litigation that has arisen based on compatibility issues with those operations. Number 7, that the establishment of the conditional use will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding area for uses permitted in the zone. Staff comment, maintenance and possible upgrades to Harmon Road are scheduled for the year 2024. If this conditional use is granted, future development along Harmon Road may actually source building materials from this development. And finally, at the bottom, item B states, if it is determined that there exist conditions that could be imposed by the board that would significantly lessen the impact of the aforestated, then the board has the power to impose said conditions, which shall be specifically set forth. Staff comment, so if the board feels it necessary, in your case, the Quorum Court feels it necessary to add the conditions of approval, it's definitely within your rights to do so. And with that staff recommendation, the staff makes the same recommendation submitted to the Planning Board in August, which is to approve the proposed Weddington Mine High Impact Conditional Use Permit with conditions, and I have provided update packets to each of the JPs with that list of conditions of approval that were approved by the Planning Board. And so if you have any questions of me, I'll be happy to take those at this time.
JP Pine.
Nathan, did your staff or the planning board receive any communication from the city of Fayetteville pertaining to whether or not this was according to their future plans?
JP Pond, I was in communication with the Fayetteville City Planning Department, Senior Planner Jonathan Kurth, who told me that many of the neighbors in this area have been contacting Fayetteville Planning and the City of Fayetteville Mayor, asking if there's anything that Fayetteville can do to weigh in on this or anything else. And Fayetteville city planner called me up wanting to know if this was solely within the county's jurisdiction or if it was in the planning area where the city might have an opportunity to weigh in on that. And the fact is this is not in the Fayetteville planning area. However, it is within that 2-mile buffer, which gave me a little bit of confusion because, you know, based on the size of Fayetteville, it should be 2 miles out regardless. So I got in touch with our regional planning commission and discussed with them about the process they go through to establish the planning area, and it's a negotiation between the city and the county. And over in that area, there are several mines, and not many of those mines. There are some mines that are in the city limits, but there aren't any in the planning area, and so they've pulled the planning area back in order to give those to us. And so it's not within the Fayetteville city planning area at all.
They're bound to be way within 2 miles of the city limits.
They are within 2 miles, but our planning area in that area only extends a half mile, as negotiated between the county and the city of Fayetteville.
Well, that's certainly not, you know, one of the main reasons that this our zoning ordinance was passed to begin with was to be able to work in compliance with and in agreement and cooperation with the cities.
Definitely.
And for some reason they've chosen not to approve or disapprove of this area. And it's a confusing issue to me. I believe you already knew I'd ask you about this.
I believe it is a bit confusing. Once you see it on the map, you can see it's a wide planting area in some locations and more narrow in others. And according to the instruction or the discussion I had with regional planning was back when they established the planning area in that particular area, it was a negotiation, and they kind of go back and forth, and they give reasons why this and why not this, and 1/2 mile was what was determined back then, and that is the planning area in this location, 1/2 mile instead of 2.
I'm unsettled about it, but thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, J.P. Pond. J.P. Madison, then J.P. Madison, then J.P. Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. What was the staff recommendation when the previous owner submitted a similar request?
In 2014, to deny.
And could you tell me a little bit about what has changed in the circumstances that has caused staff to change?
No, I've gone over it in my presentation, but
just a few highlights.
What it comes out to is back then the road was shown on paper, and the site distance was measured from looking on paper and then looking on the ground and assuming or.
You guys will have your time to visit, and we're going to make sure that they don't have commentary when you guys come to speak. Go ahead.
Site distance was measured on paper then, and it was measured on the ground here. Speed limit has been decreased.
So the previous measurement was wrong, is what you're saying?
I'm saying it was different because it was measured differently with a different method.
I was thinking tape measures don't lie. I mean, I don't know. How did they change?
Sure.
That's, okay. Was there anything else?
Say it again.
Excuse me?
Yep.
Were there any other reasons why the change?
The Hall Road is in a slightly different location, and the speed limit has been changed.
Okay, the speed limit sign has been changed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
The speed limit has been posted.
J.P. Madison.
Thank you, Judge. So I was on the court back when the
yes, ma'am.
Their prior planning director recommended denial, so that was going to be my question, but I had a few follow-ups.
We'll have some more on that too, but.
So when was the speed limit changed?
During our 5-week review cycle.
Okay.
I believe it was our tech review day, which is about 2 weeks into the review.
Well, I remember from the 2014 discussion asking about the speed limit, and we were told that it couldn't be changed. So I don't understand. How it was changed so quickly
I don't think
this time?
couldn't be changed was probably accurate because it has been changed. But the road has been studied by the road department with these traffic counters and with their instrumentation, and they made that determination and they went out and dropped the speed limit to 35.
So the police officer that spoke from Cave Springs, who said that the study post the 35 sign, the speed limit was still 45, is that correct?
Ask it again, please.
He said that after the speed limit sign had been changed, the study showed that the speed limit was still average 45. Is that right?
Whenever they put now there might be a few days difference here rather than weeks or months, and so I'd have to look back to my notes to tell you to get the actual days of the month. But whenever they changed the speed limit down to 35, are you asking was the road department's traffic study done at a 45 mile per hour speed limit and then they changed it, or did they drop it first?
Well, I understood what he said was that the first study done when the speed limit was 45, the average speed was 48, and that when the speed limit sign was changed,
so you're talking about the two different road studies. The one road, I would say that the study that the road department did was more of a traffic study, and the study that Garver did was more of a road study. Traffic, they put the traffic counters out there and they counted the number of vehicles, the number of axles, the speed, and everything else, including, in addition to getting their smart levels out there and taking data on super elevation and everything else. But then whenever Garver went out there, they didn't take the traffic counters, and they were simply studying the character of the road.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is once the speed limit sign was changed, was there a study done that showed the speed did not go down considerably? That's what I understood him to say. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Design speed of the road? I don't...
No, the speed of the cars. I mean, I understood that he said, yeah.
Pardon me.
I mean, because if dropping the speed limit sign 10 miles makes everybody comply like that, that's awesome. But I don't know that I...
The second study didn't evaluate the speed of the cars, just what the road would handle.
Okay, so we don't know what the average speed is now that the speed limit has been lowered.
Correct.
Okay. Who paid for the Garver study?
It was commissioned, requested by the road department, so I would assume that.
Okay, do you know how much it cost?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks, Judge.
J.P. Jenkins.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Mr. Crouch. This is all a matter of public record here. I'm looking at the Washington County Planning Office zoning conditional use permit from November 6, 2014. In it, there's a section that is talking about from October 28, 2014, Mr. Grote sent a letter and notifications to planning staff, and part of what he said in quotes is, in conclusion, let's see, wait just a second. It says, Mr. Grope states his findings after review of the documents and subsequent site visits. So I'm curious, you said it was all on paper, but according to public record, it shows that there were site visits that for them to do their studies. And then on top of that, if I was looking, Mr. Grout, who, I'm sorry, Grote, is that how you say it?
It's Grote.
Mr. Grote, who was the county engineer at the time, is that correct? So he also wrote in these documents, that is all public record, that 45 miles per hour is the posted speed limit for this section of Harmon Roads. The findings do not underlined, warrant a change in the posted speed limit of 45 miles per hour for this section of Harmon Road. Do you have a response to that?
I have two questions before me, and
Okay.
the first one regarding on paper.
Sure.
What I was trying to get at with J.P. Madison was that the Hall Road was only shown on paper at that point, and it wasn't on the ground where they could go out there and find the exact center line. And so, indeed, the
What was
road,
the difference?
the Hall Road itself was on the paper.
So can you tell me in feet what the difference is between where they assumed it was as to where, because it couldn't have been very far. I've been to the property and I
Agreed.
see that.
It probably isn't far. Maybe it was only 4 feet, maybe it was 6 inches difference. All I'm saying is that it wasn't on the ground and it wasn't an in situ condition. It wasn't real on the ground like this one is.
Okay.
And so to go into your second question, would you repeat that?
Okay, well, in addition to what you just said, though, I'd like to respond to what you just said, and what you said was you're not sure how many feet difference it would have been, but according to the AASHTO standards, a truck needs to have 488.78 feet of line of sight, and with according to record, we're still looking at 42.78 deficit in sight. So I'm sure there wasn't a 42 feet difference in where the Harmon Road, Mine Road went. That's all I had to say about that. But the second question that I had was that the findings by Mr. Grody in 2014 specifically say, with an underlined not, 45 miles per hour is the posted speed limit of this section of Harmon Road. The findings do not warrant a change in the posted speed of 45 miles per hour for this section of Harmon Road. I just want to know what changed.
The engineer changed, and the superintendents for the road department changed. A lot has changed since then in personnel. It's different. It's a matter of difference of opinions.
Who changes? Who decides the change in the speed limit in the end? Who is the one that says this 35?
I believe the data.
But isn't there someone who has to make that judgment and make that call for it to happen?
It would be one of the leadership in the road department.
Do you know who that would be?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
I was just notified that this is the new speed limit, and.
Okay, thank you.
J.P. Harbison.
I was also on the court at the time that we turned down this piece of property for mining because of the Harmon Road. And my concern at that time was that hill, and it still is that hill. Did you ask the applicant to see if he could get an easement or something, or a right-of-way to go out on either Hamstring Road or Ritchie Road? I understand we need red dirt.
Yes, ma'am.
But these other communities, and I hate to say this, are already disrupted with the travel of trucks. So to me, it would look like to help solve the problem, instead of lowering speed limits and spending 4-lane, adding, county money to the road, that it would be more efficient for him to get an easement or a right-of-way to move his trucks on roads that are already having truck traffic on them. I mean, this just makes sense to me. Harmon, we can't we can't mow down Harmon Hill. That is a steep hill. That is a dangerous hill to have all these trucks on, even if the road is widened. My concern is, yes, we need red dirt for construction and everything. But I think we can solve this problem, but we don't need traffic on Harmon Road. Thank you.
J.P. Duncan.
I have a response. May I respond?
No, sure. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the question. I have read through the minutes of the 2014 hearing, and there were the proposal that was before the board and then the court back then included Riches Road and Harmon Road, and the proposal was denied. An entire proposal can be denied based on one aspect of the submittal, and Riches Road simply doesn't have a wide enough driving surface or enough right-of-way, and in order for them to get that right-of-way, there would have to be agreement from all those property owners in order to relinquish that land for right-of-way, for them to build the road surface wider to be an adequate haul road. And Hamstring Road, I know he hasn't called through to Hunt Rogers Quarry, because I told him as soon as I got the call from Hunt Rogers saying that they definitely would not give any sort of easement or rights like that to their competitor.
Well, I'm sorry, but
I'm just answering the question, ma'am. Yes.
I just feel that safety is a higher issue than competition between different mining companies.
I don't disagree.
J.P. Duncan.
I was curious about the real estate transaction data that you presented to us. This is the first time to see this particularly. I was curious if you've had any findings from the real estate data that shows that there would be a negative impact to property values.
That's a good question, sir, and I believe Assessor Hill is here or nearby, and he provided this data to me today, and I've definitely read through it, but I'm not qualified to speak to that. Definitely not as qualified as Assessor Hill. And Russ, are you here?
Assessor Hill, you want to address that?
Okay. I've got my appraisal manager back there too if we got any further questions or something, but I think I should be fine with this. So yeah, Nathan had approached me and had asked about just some clarification on how it affects property values. So what I did is I looked at properties that surrounded the Luttrell dirt mine and the Hunt Rogers group. Very familiar with that territory. I got 4 generations of family that have owned the property around that. Actually, my family owned part of it that they bought from us and turned into the dirt mine. So, so that's my little disclaimer there. Oh, okay. Now, when it comes to property values, assessors, we reflect the market. We do not project the market. So nobody could tell you with any definite accuracy how it would affect the market. That would only happen over time as you get comparable sales. And so what I did is I provided 12 parcels here. I'll kind of walk through these. The first 2 parcels are Mr. Gallagher's. So we looked at his because he's gone before the Board of Equalization every reappraisal cycle, which is his right to do that. And so looking at the first parcel that we have, I think this is his main residence. And he purchased that in '92 for $93,000. It's a 1-story. We have it at 2,814 total living square feet, and it's graded at a 4 with a +10. Now, when we grade properties, we have a grading scale from 1 to 7. A 1 is a full-out, custom-built home. It is the best of the best of the best, okay? That would be, you know, a full-out mansion. A 2 is a custom-built home that is the best of the best. And then you get into 3s and 4s are more of your plotted neighborhoods there where, you know, houses are all pretty similar. There might be 4 or 5 different floor plans within a neighborhood. And then you get into a 4 and a 5 is more of, those were kind of your standard homes back in the 80s. You get into a 6 is more of your little shotgun homes. It's pretty much just a basic rectangular or square home that has, you know, there's nothing fancy about it at all. A 7 is somewhat inhabitable. You shouldn't live in it, but sadly there are some people that do live in those homes. So his is kind of a normal home. It's a +10, so it's got maybe a few extra features on it that made it a little bit nicer. Built in 1969, average condition. So that's just deciphering what I put down here in your notes. The primary parcel, there were no changes to the attributes, or that's REL stands for remaining economic life. The value was addressed by adding a 20% negative adjustment to the value of the improvement card, a 20% functional adjustment already due to it there being a second dwelling in close proximity of the primary dwelling. He has a second house that's close to the other one there, and so they did an adjustment on that, was determined of what was suggested there. So there's his other parcel, which is just west of his primary parcel. That is a 1-story, 1,658 total square feet. It's a grade 4 +5. It was built in '68, average condition. The second parcel has a 25% adjustment that was made to the value of the improvement. So he got a reduction in his value, but that appears to be based on a lack of availability of water. One of the complaints was that the quarry had destroyed his wells. He provided a cost of $24,000 to get the water corrected, to get the water that he had needed. So, and I think they adjusted it and they gave him a $20,000 discount on the value of his property because of the lack of the water. Typically, if there was, you know, it's hard to say, is it the quarry, is it not the quarry? You know, that's just up for interpretation of folks, depending on who you ask. There's another property there. It was just a land only. It sold in 2016. It was 13.7 acres, sold for $100,000. And when we're looking at these, you got to take in mind too that the timing of when these things take place, because we had a real estate bust that happened in 2008. So you have to take 05, things were moving, you know, so you got to look at that's why we added the time of the sales here. It has a big effect on it, probably more than anything. The next parcel that ends in 300, my grandpa actually built that house. Now, this is kind of interesting, but again, you got to take in consideration of the date. It was sold in 2006 for $100,000. Again, the market was growing at a very fast rate at that time. 2015, years later, it sold for $88,000. So that makes you have a question mark there. It's a one-story. It's 1,800 total living square feet. It's a grade 5 plus 10. It was built in 77. This is an improved sale. It sold in 06, and then in 15, the dwelling sold for less than it did in 15. The market was still rebounding in 15. It really completely, I would say, was restored again by 2016. And then we'll have our new values coming out in 2020 on this property value. It's hard to say if it was due to the condition of the adjoining property or if it had anything to do with the quarry. So anyway, here's, you know, there's just some more data there on some stuff. There's a land only. In 05, it was $25,000. In 07, it went up to $32,000. Again, you got to consider the time of the market. And then in 19, it sold for $20,000. So that was just this year. And so you see that, you know, there was a reduction in the value of that. The land sold for less in 19 than it did in 07. So, and it sits directly on the boundary of the Luttrell Quarry. And then I'll just give you some more examples of similar properties like that. Common sense would say that, yes, if there is a quarry that gets put in your backyard, it's going to make your property, it's going to have an effect on it, and it's not going to be a positive effect. How much? The market determines that, and I don't have a crystal ball. I just look at the sales data as it comes to us, and then we just simply give you the numbers, and that's what I gave you today to look at and for you to look at and make your decision on. Any questions about any of the stuff that I put in there for you?
Yes, Mr. Hill, just wanted to clarify. So you're stating that you do believe that it would diminish and impair property values within the surrounding area?
I would think, yeah, I mean, common sense would say that, yes, that would. To what degree, I don't know, but then also, too, you have to take in, you know, into consider, you know, all the things that you guys are looking at for this conditional use permit and what the people are expressing tonight. So it's a tough place to be, and I don't envy your positions one bit.
All right, thank you, Successor Hill. Any other questions for Nathan? Do we have any public agencies here, Nathan, who or the other departments?
None were expected, and
Okay.
I don't see any.
All right. Well, at this point, then what we'll do now is go ahead.
Public agency?
Who's that?
No, I didn't know if you were taking questions from us.
No. At this point, we're about to tell. So at this point, Nathan, thank you. We're going to invite Wellington Mines to come up. He'll have 30 minutes. Again, I'm going to ask you guys to let him speak and share his information, and then we'll have the public come, and they'll have 30 minutes to make their remarks. And again, we'll ask that, again, you keep your comments to yourself. Go ahead and tell us who you are, and you have 30 minutes to share your.
Thank you, Judge Woods. My name is Tom Terminella. I am the managing cognizant official representing Weddington Mine LLC, which is a family-owned asset. I want to thank the JPs, counselor, chief, planning department, planning director, all of the planning individuals at the Washington County that I've come in contact with over the last 9 or 10 months have been true professionals. I'm here tonight because the judge, the county attorney, the county planning director, the chief, and one resident of Weddington Woods early on, Ebenezer Baldwin Bowles, had the courage to call me, meet with me, and interact with me about my plans for the farm that we bought next to the Hunt Rogers Industrial Quarry. I want to thank him, and I want to thank the 5 individuals that interacted and asked questions and provided me their concerns some 2 weeks ago when on social media I'd realized that the residents of this community had organized a meeting across from 15792 Harmon Road, which me and my 22-year-old son attempted to go interact with. In 51 years of living in this county, of my 50, soon to be 4, I never encountered what I encountered that day. And I brought my son with me for a learning experience. We came to the property. I attempted to interact with the organizers of the meeting, and it was posted on social media for all interested party, concerned citizens, and people in the community to please meet to discuss concerns and questions. I felt like that would be a good opportunity for me and my son to go out there and interact with the public, address their concerns, and answer their questions. To this day, 11 months, we've owned the property. There's been 3 people in this entire county that have called and approached me to ask me what my intent was. One was the judge early on. One was Mr. Bowles. And one was the planning director. And one was Andrea. She was, and I want to thank you, and I want to thank Mr. Duncan. And I know it was short notice. I invited all the JPs last weekend to come out. It was short notice. One at least extend the invitation to meet me out there. I went out there last Saturday, sat there for 35 minutes, and didn't encounter a single individual that came to 15792 Harmon Road, our farm, to interact with me or ask me a single question. 2 weeks ago, when the meeting was held, I think I counted 74 people. I was asked to get off their property, that I was not welcome, that I was not invited, and anything that I had to say was not relevant. Now, this is a democracy. This is America. We're a civil society. How else am I supposed to explain and answer people's questions and concerns when they won't even allow me the opportunity to interact with them? Okay? So you're going to get all 30 minutes tonight. This is my forum, my time to explain what we're doing with the farm that we acquired out on Riches Road at public auction. Okay? The time to protest or appeal or engage in the property when it was listed for public auction. If somebody didn't want somebody else buying a piece of property and doing their intended use, it was available to everybody in this room to go purchase. Okay? I'm not Mr. Rich. I'm not the other gentleman some 6 or 8 months ago that filed for a conditional use permit to operate Heritage Farms. I'm not him. I'm not Les Rogers. I'm not Hunt Rogers Group. I'm Tom Terminella. I've been here 51 years. I'm last of 8 children. This is my home. My children drive these roads. My mother and father are buried out here in Fairview. Have a lot of nieces and nephews. And I live 3 miles away from this site on Millsap Mountain, and I can see the farm from my dining room table. Okay, so I'm a resident, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a citizen, I'm a farm owner, and I'm a civil person, and I'm very concerned about the public health, welfare, and safety, or I wouldn't be here. And I wouldn't be in the business that I'm in. In the business that I'm in, I'm a miner. I'm a real estate developer. I'm an infrastructure provider. I'm a interstate builder. I am a sourcing contractor. Okay? I'm in the dirt business. Structural fill and red dirt is no different than fatty, expansive clay, crushed stone, shale, grit, SB, ballast rock, sand. Sand comes out of the river valley every night on A&M, gets delivered all the way to Ozark, Missouri. Every night. When you hear the train, those are big loads of sand to what? Restock all of the folks from here to Missouri with their ag products so they can do their constructing. I take great pride in operating my facilities safely. Most of you don't realize I have right now 200 acres of reclamation and mining zone in Washington County in Johnson, Arkansas. I'm reclamating a mine that started in 1930 and ran to 1970 in Johnson, Arkansas, and it's referenced as the Johnson Mine LLC. 30 months ago, entered into an agreement with AHTD, Arkansas Highway Transportation Division's selected contractor, Kiewit, and we went to work 2 10-hour days, 12 months straight, and moved 1.3 million cubic yards of red dirt, select fill, to construct and build the interchange in front of the auto park. I did it without running over a single school bus, a single accident. There wasn't a single death. And to my knowledge, there wasn't an operator or anybody in transportation that was citationed or dismissed from their role in what they were doing. Let me first say this. We're a private company. We're not a public quarry. My aspiration has never been to buy this farm and create a pit, dig a hole, and leave a eyesore and a disaster of what some have done before me, okay? I pride myself on acquiring and reclaiming land that others have destroyed. Doing so right now in Johnson, Arkansas with 100 acres, okay? I plan to turn that into an amphitheater and a park, civic space, 100 acres, just south of Clear Creek. It's integrated with 500 other acres that I've been planning for the last 7 years. Medical institutions, housing, commercial services, a holistic community. right across the street from Washington Regional. And 200 acres of that I acquired through one of the oldest mining companies in northwest Arkansas. And I went to work on it 5 years ago, reclaiming it, the Badlands. I'm here tonight to request a denial of the appeal. I've not met either party that have filed an appeal on me. Nobody's called, nobody asked me, nobody's even asked me what our intent is. They filed the appeals. I hadn't got a phone call, an email, anything. I'm also here to ask the JPs, judge, counselor, to ratify what the planning director recommended and the Planning and Zoning Board approved back 2 or 3 months ago, ratification of a CUP that allows me to operate commercially. Commercially to me is selling material to third party. Now for the record, let's be clear. I'm a private operation with the Holtz Clause being my operators. They operate the biggest mining operations in the county and in Benton County. They run Sharps Quarry, they run Johnson, they reclamate the Luttrell pit after it was mined out. Now they're filling it back with every customer in this county bringing spoil there. They're responsible miners. They're responsible people, and they're good citizens, and they're good people. And they've been attached to that pit for 40 years. And they feel a responsibility once it's gone to reclaim it and turn it into something that functions again. So being clear, we bought the farm for minerals. I'm afforded, and everybody in this room is afforded, what's called your bundle of rights. I've transacted real estate for 31 years, right out of high school, and everybody in this room has the right to own their real estate. They have the right to drill a water well, an oil well, a gas well. They have the right to timber it. They have the right to row crop it. They have the right of quiet enjoyment to sit on it. They have air rights. They have the right to lease, sell, mortgage, pledge, and bargain and trade. Google it up, bundle of rights. And unless you have bargained away any of your bundle of rights by separate instrument through a title policy, each and every person in here has those vested in their real estate. So let's get to the meat of the matter. Harmon Road is a underimproved county road. I've asked the road department. I've asked Kenneth Gentry, AHTD, at Prairie Grove, he's the district man, about Weddington. I've asked the county about Harmon. And I've asked some of the residents and the county about Riches Road. All of them are in need of repair. Sightline repair. We have 20 and 30 years worth of growth hanging over into the right-of-ways, and I'm going to let everybody put you on notice. It's not my responsibility to go maintain state, county, city, municipal roads. That is what our tax dollars do. So I've called the state, I've called the county, and I've called my friends at the city, and they actually came out and picked up some trees that had fallen down in the right-of-way on some city property. And that's what I can do as a citizen. I can engage government to go improve situations that I feel like are an issue for the public. There are several blind spots on Harmon Road. I don't have the authority to go on somebody's personal property, but the county judge and the county administration does have the authority to engage these people and cut back the right-of-way and thin sight line and improve the safety for the folks of Washington County. And that's what I am reaching out for you folks to do. If the people in this room could just for a moment focus their energy on engaging JP's, road departments, government to go improve sightline. If we just spent one Saturday on Harmon Road and asked everybody out there that lived to bring their saw, their chainsaw, in a garbage bag, I'm telling you what, we would have a real safe, a more pleasant drive. I've called the University of Arkansas. They own most of the right-of-way out there. There's literally truckloads of garbage up and down Harmon Road. That's what I see, okay? So I'm going to plead with the people that are here tonight. I have no intent to do anything to tread on them for 1 minute. Their property value, their safety, running over a school bus, or operating unsafely, okay? And I'm off script here, and I'll get back on script. We're a private operation. In order to be loaded at our facility, you have to have an appointment. We're not like Sharp's Quarry. We don't mine stone, we don't crush rock, we don't use dynamite, and we don't use scalpers, screeners, and crushers. We excavate dirt with excavators. We load it into qualified trucks that are insured and have a license and are assessed and pay county taxes and assessments and license fees just like anybody else. I understand the operations of ours. I can live with that. I understand the concerns about school buses and road speeds and all of that. I understand that. I have another way out of this property. It's called Rich's Road. Rich's Road, there's some parts of it that have inadequate road section and a lot of overgrown foliage. Harvey, you're the only one that's called. You called me 2 or 3 weeks ago. You said, Tom, can you go through Miss Hunt's deal? I said, Harvey, it's a mile out of the way and, you know, there's no road there. Tom, could you contribute maybe $250,000 to the county? Will it just improve Rich's Road? Harvey, man, don't think my family's in the business to rebuild county roads, but I'll ask my family. I am here to offer any structural fill, any staging area, anything that I can do on that farm to help improve the right-of-way, Rich's Road, or supply structural fill for improving those roads. Back to what I'm not here to do. I'm not here to adversely affect anybody's property value. I'm not blasting, I'm not mining, and I'm not running a public quarry. I'm running a private operation. Let's get to what we're going to do with the dirt. I bought the farm for Pacific uses. 12 acres of real estate in town, right on Weddington, that needs an undercut and a fill. It'll need a couple 100,000 yards. I have a multifamily project planned there for in the spring. Need 200,000 yards of material. You typically buy a site to mine for logistics. Minimal tires, minimal fuel, minimal man hour, minimal haul time, proximity. I also bought this farm, or my family did, at auction for the upcoming work with AHTD. Next August, Weddington interchange should start. Flyovers, ramps, the whole design, I haven't seen it yet, hadn't been bid, but Weddington on and off the expressway is a nightmare. Okay, anybody that lives out there, you know it. That construction project alone will take tens of thousands, if not 100,000s of yards of structural fill to build all the ramps. A year from January, MLK interchange starts. Mile down the interstate, mile and a half. They're going to stagger them, is what the chief engineer tells me at AHTD, because of the impact that it's going to have. So, as I did for Kiewit, as I did for AHTD out by the auto park, I went and acquired a piece of ground. I have legally permitted it. I have established my bonds with the state. I have insured the property. I have improved the property. I have filed permits with the county to connect to the County Road 31 Harmon Road. I filed and bonded an asphalt job, had Tomlinson do it, to improve the tie-in. The tie-in to Harmon Road is Rich's Road. Rich's Road, at the end of the day, will be a through road through my farm. And I will build that road to a safe, acceptable grade. And at the time that it's built and constructed, I will get with the county judge, and I will get with whoever the attorney is and the planning director, and we will provide that right-of-way to the county and make it a county road. Okay? But I can only control the 3/4 of a mile that runs through my farm. I can't control the 1/2 a mile that's in the county that runs up and down Riches Road. I don't control the other 1/4 mile that falls within the city limits of Fayetteville. Those sections are real close to adequate, but there is some sections of Riches Road, I heard tonight, there's inadequate right-of-way. There's also people on Riches Road that make their living with a dump truck. 2 different families. They feed multiple households there. They make their money by delivering material for the construction industry. They live on Riches Road. I'm perfectly fine with using Riches Road, but I told the people out on Riches Road I would not use that road until it was adequate and safe. I went to the expense, I've got some $107,000 I looked before to construct the new section of Riches Road on Harmon Road. Didn't have to asphalt it, didn't have to make it 60 feet wide, didn't have to put an industrial gate, didn't have to put the riprap, didn't have to do any of the site work that we did. But I did it with the intent that it's going to be done to a specification to meet county standards at the end. It's going to be an acceptable width. It's going to be, it can only go where it's at. There's a creek to the north, there's a mountain to the north, there's a mountain to the south. It's offset with dogwood only because there's a creek. Can't build a road over a creek. Okay? So I am legally permitted through the state of Arkansas, the Department of Environmental Quality, ADQ Act 827 of 1991, permit number #002MN-AG2-27. Weddington Mine is legally permitted to engage in open cut mining to provide its materials to federal, state, municipal, city, and privately owned projects. I'm here tonight to get a CUP to conduct a commercial enterprise to sell to third-party contractors. I'm permitted. I'm legal to operate on my piece of property, and I am governed by the Open Cut Mining Act of Arkansas. I have 2 other mining areas in this county. I'm permitted the same way. One is a state borrow site, one is Johnson Mine LLC, and it is a commercial site, and I have a CUP through Johnson, Arkansas, and operate that site. So I'm fully aware what my rights are. I am the cognizant official that is the permittee on all this. I'm the person where the buck stops. I know nobody wants, you know, heavy trucks or activity in their backyard, but my pledge to my neighbors that wouldn't have the common courtesy of visiting with me is to do nothing to impede their enjoyment of their property. And if anybody in this community feels like my activities and my family's activities are going to adversely affect their value, please see me after the meeting. There's a shortage of single-family dwellings in both counties. If anybody has any real estate west of I-49 from Greenland to Pineville, Missouri, please see me after the meeting if you'd like to sell it. Any amount of acreage west of I-49 in all the counties from here to McDonald County in Missouri. Okay? If somebody feels like my activity is going to adversely affect the market value of their real estate out in Weddington Woods, well, I've transacted real estate and have owned a real estate brokerage company for 31 years. I'll be more than happy to facilitate, buy, transact, or sell your real estate without a loss. We currently don't have enough homes. I have a home builder friend out in the west part of town by the sewer plant. He currently has 400 pre-sold contracts for Riverwood. We have more people coming here than we can actually supply housing for. I just commenced a study and received it last week. We're 10,700 living units short in Washington County right now. Short. in the rears. We need 10,700 places for people to live. Well, guess what? All those materials come from somewhere. Structural dirt, red dirt, is just as important as gravel, concrete, hot mix, ready mix, sand from the river valley. It's a commodity. It's under Razorback Road that we built this summer. It's under Maple Street that we built this summer. It's under the north end zone. It's under the north end zone. And I'm happy to say that we provided all of it safely for the benefit of the public. And the very thing that everybody's concerned about and arguing, we're sitting here supplying the dirt and the raw materials to build the infrastructure that everybody here is driving around on and their families. It's a necessary thing. I understand the safety issue. I understand the concern with the speed of the road. I understand all of that. I can enter on Harmon Road and exit on Riches Road, but I need the county and the road department and you folks to do your part. Okay? I can't go affect 16 or 18 people up and down Riches Road and ask them to move their fences and trim their trees. I can't do that. I wouldn't want somebody coming, you know, demanding that of me, but we can ask. And we can solve this, and we can improve the situation out there. I'm not going to have unlimited trucks running in and out of my operation every day. We don't haul every day. We don't haul on rain days. My material is supplied to preferred construction firms that qualify for state and federal, county, and municipal work. I don't tolerate any unsafe behavior. I have children driving cars on these roads too. And as the DOT told me, Mr. Terminella, when I called them, after they had 12 trucks pulled over one day out on Highway 112 on the interstate deal, don't your kids drive too, Tom? Aren't you concerned with these truckers being in compliance? And the answer is yes, okay? I don't want anybody getting run over on my watch. I don't want to create a safety issue for anybody, okay? I don't have the ability to go trim my neighbor's trees, but the road department does, judge does, superintendent does, the chief does, and I don't have the right to go out and trim foliage on Weddington, but Mr. Kenneth Gentry does.
2 minutes left.
Okay. With that being said, I'm willing to engage anybody here in a civil conversation and address their concerns. I'm respectful to everybody. I can't say the same coming at me. I respectfully ask y'all to deny this appeal. The director and the planning board have approved it. I've agreed to the conditions. I'm going to operate safely. I'm going to operate within the hours. And I'm not going to go out and dig a big pit. We're going to reshape a farm, and that farm will be split into different parcels and sold at the end of the day for more residential dwellings. It won't be Big Red Dirt Pit, and it won't be Hunt Rogers Industrial Quarry. No intentions of that. None. I'm going to reshape and use the minerals for the benefit of the public. And I use dirt every day in every job that we do. It's a necessary commodity. And we purchased the farm because of its location, its proximity to where the material needs to be used. I'll work with anybody in the county, anybody on this court, anybody at the road department to address any of the concerns. We'll have special signage the day that we operate, flashing LED signage, alerting people both ways to slow down because there's equipment entering and exiting Riches Road. It's not a haul road. That is Riches Road. And Riches Road will be built and constructed all the way through the farm. You've heard enough of me. I didn't get into any of my notes, but I just want everybody to know I am a parent, I'm a citizen, and I put my shorts on just like everybody in this room. And I'm not here, and don't put me in any class or category until you know me, until you talk to me, until you've addressed me civilly and asked me to respond to your questions and concerns, because I'll be there and I'll do it. So with that being said, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I appreciate what y'all do for the county.
Oh, we're going to go ahead and let the JPs, if you guys have a question, JP Madison and then JP Hires.
Mr. Terminella, I met with you once before you were trying to develop in my backyard. So I've been down the road that these neighbors have been down with you. You're a tough businessman, so.
Well, we're still going to develop your backyard, and we're still going to extend a road through there.
See, so I'm just saying, like, maybe you should think about why neighbors don't want to meet with you, because I had to leave your meeting early because of the attitude you took toward my neighborhood. So I just want to say, like, your reputation precedes you on that. I've been in that meeting. I wouldn't welcome you on my property either. But I have a question.
Well, hold on. For the record, your personal property happens to be on my brother Manny's property right now in your backyard.
I don't have personal property on your brother's property.
Your personal property is on the creek in the backyard of Manny and Diana Terminella's property.
Let's address the question. What's your question?
Okay. So I'm curious, so the copy of the DEQ permit you got is dated May 19th, 2019?
Correct.
We had to send you a cease and desist letter in 2018 because of the activity that was occurring on your property. So I'm curious about how you can say that you were in compliance if you didn't have your permit from DEQ then.
One, you had Mr. Lester send a letter.
Well, the Quorum Court did, yes.
No, it was your motion.
Well,
I watched it. It was your motion
with the
to send a letter to Weddington Mine to cease and desist.
Right.
And I'd already met with the planning and the road department and was permitting a private road into my farm. I'm not mining at that point, ma'am. I'm building access, ingress and egress, and I was permitted and legal under the law. And Mr. Lester wondered why he was sending me the letter.
Because the Quorum Court voted to ask him to, because of complaints from the neighbors about mining activity on your property.
And it wasn't mining, it was building a private road. And so I was in compliance because I had filed for the necessary county permits.
Well, I think the attitude that you're showing just in talking to me is probably why it's hard to deal with you, Mr. Terminella.
Well,
so
I have to go both ways. Your attitude is kind of offensive to some of us as well.
I'll yield my
JP Hires, your question.
Thank you, Mr. Terminella. I just have a couple questions for you. When you purchased the property at auction, were you aware that the land was zoned residential and agricultural?
Yes, and the nature of open cut mining is an agricultural activity. I'm permitted under the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality. Minerals are an ag product. I can go out there and dig dirt today and move it to my property. I can go out there and load state contractors' equipment without a CUP, ma'am. I do it all day, every day in Johnson, Arkansas. I am here tonight to get a commercial CUP so I can sell to third party. Out of respect to the judge and the lawyer and the chief and the planning director, I made a decision 10 months ago not to export anything until the CUP deal was resolved. The fact of the matter is, I can go mine my material tomorrow morning based on the request of this at 8:30 in the morning and be in compliance with all state and regulatory permitting.
Okay, thank you. So the question was, when you purchased the property and you said yes, you were aware that the land was zoned agricultural and residential. And were you also aware at that time that a CUP had already been denied in 2014 for the exact same actions that you're seeking one for now?
I come across properties every day that have been...
It's just a simple question, yes or no?
Was I aware that it had been denied?
Yes, in 2014, were you aware that it had been denied?
I saw a flyer that said, "Big Red Dirt Farm, Riches Road for sale." They were advertising it as a dirt pit. I said, "Oh, boy, that'd be compatible. It's right next to the largest quarry in Washington County." And I showed up and bought half of the farm, and Miss Hunt's outfit bought the other half of the farm. Okay? That simple. And it was advertised as a red dirt operation, and red dirt had been coming off of it for years.
JP Madison or JP Jenkins? JP Madison, and then JP Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Terminella, I have to tell you that your hostile and argumentative tone of this entire presentation you've done has been somewhat off-putting. I'd like to let you know that I don't respond to requests to meet with all JPs unless I know somebody has taken steps to comply with FOIA. So that's why I didn't come to any meeting that you might have called and didn't respond to any email you may have sent. I don't know how that was communicated. I didn't go to one that the residents requested, and I didn't go to one that you requested. Now, I don't understand why you're even here if you think you can already do what you're
Because I
doing.
plan to provide the select fill, red dirt, to third-party contractors within our community. That's why. That's,
So
in
you
order
need to have a CUP to do
in
that.
order to supply third party. I don't need a CUP to dig my own minerals and fix my own farm or transport them to another owned entity. I don't need a CUP to mine my own minerals under the Open Cut Mining Act and fix my own property.
Well,
I need them.
I might need to call some state department and verify that, because
Please
I
do.
can get a sales tax permit at my house, but that doesn't let me open a furniture store in my house.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah.
a state permit is not a blanket permission to do whatever you want. So I'm troubled about your willingness to work with neighbors. I haven't seen that willingness here tonight.
I showed up, there were 74, 84 people, and me and my son. I don't know what else I could have done. I was there to make myself available. They wouldn't interact with me. I don't know what else to say.
I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to let you know the way you've presented yourself to me. And the fact that it was already denied would have certainly been a deterrent to me in buying a parcel of land if I wanted to use it for the same purpose that had already been turned down once. That's all I have, Mr. Judge.
JP, was it Jenkins, and then JP Harbison?
Thank you, Judge. So I was at the neighborhood meeting. I was invited and showed up. It was myself, JP Hires, and JP Duncan. And I was a witness to your showing up. And I want to be clear to the court that when you did arrive, you kind of marched into the scene and started just kind of taking over when there were already people talking. And I feel like, honestly, sir, that if you had wanted a nice discussion with neighbors, you would have politely come in, waited your turn, sat on the sidelines, let them say what they needed to say, and asked for your opportunity to speak or say, does anyone have any questions? I came across the street and talked to you, and I appreciate your time, I do. And you were very thorough in your explanation with what you were doing as a businessman, and I respect what you do, for sure, sir. I'm just saying, you said you had no prior knowledge of the ownership before, you said earlier, is that correct? Of what
I had
happened
knowledge of
with
ownership.
Mr. Ritchie?
Mark Rich, I had prior knowledge that he was operating a red dirt farm.
I thought you said you didn't know that you just saw the property and...
No, I was well aware I was buying a red dirt farm, that John David Lindsay had operated Mr. Rich's farms for years before that, and it was advertised as a red dirt pit. So I was fully aware exactly what I was buying and where it was located.
Okay, you said to me that the neighbors bankrupt the guy. Can you explain to the court what you mean by that?
Well, Mark Rich had a mortgage on his property. He had engaged in open cut mining for years with the Lindsays. At some point during the crash, that permit went away. I wasn't a party to it, so I'm not aware. And Mark had spent 4, 5, 6 years trying to re-permit the farm in order to pay the mortgage on it. He finally got to a point where the bank, in this case Arvest, would not extend him any more terms, and they gave him an ultimatum. You either agree to a foreclosure, friendly foreclosure, or you auction the property. He chose to auction the property because he couldn't get it permitted through this body or whatever body that he was trying to get a permit to do a commercial mining operation.
So that you're claiming that's the neighbor's fault?
No, I'm claiming that that was the conditions at the time kept him from having a commercial enterprise that was viable to where he could retire his debt. That's what I'm claiming. And as a result of him not being able to be permitted and approved through a CUP, I believe he filed bankruptcy and sold his place at auction.
Okay, I'm trying to establish that, you know, I feel like this could have worked better with the neighbors, obviously. Like, and I know that you shrug and say this, but you also told me when I met with you that if this doesn't happen, it's not going to stop, and isn't the county going broke, and you're going to take it, you'll take it to the circuit court, state court of appeals, national, whatever you have to do, is what you told me. And I felt very astounded that you put it in those terms to me, because it was like, wait a minute, it felt almost like, well, we're going broke, so you don't want to mess with me because I'm going to take you on.
No,
and
no,
I'm
sorry you felt that way. The point that I was making is I know what my judicial remedies are. I can go through the court and appeal the decision if it doesn't go my way tonight. I can appeal to the circuit court. I can appeal to the Court of Appeals, and then I can take it in the federal court dealing with property rights.
Correct.
All I was simply saying is we know what our judicial remedy is and we know what our rights are. We're permitted, out of respect for this body, all the JPs in this quorum court in the county in which I live in, I have chose to go the path that our judge and our counselor and our chief and the planning director asked me to go. Okay. And that's why I'm here tonight. And I'm sorry if I'm abrasive and dark-skinned and deep voice and come across assertive. But ma'am, if you would have shown up with 84 people hostile towards you and all you were simply wanting to do is have a civil dialogue and a democracy, you would have your hair up just a little bit too. So
one more question.
Yeah.
Stormwater.
Yes.
What kind of application do you have going for that?
I have permitted with
Is it permitted now?
Stormwater Prevention Plan. I don't have to enact it, ma'am, until I disturb, I believe it's over 1.5 acres or 3 acres of dirt. I went ahead and filed the permits with ADEQ and the Stormwater Division. I've met with Jason Garrett, which is the local field officer. He met me out there 2 weeks ago. He said, Mr. Terminello, I've gotten some complaints. I'm going to write these down as simple harassment. He says, you're in compliance with every single guideline that we have. So, yes, ma'am, okay. I am permitted. I filed my permits. We filed our bond. We filed our insurance. We are permitted to operate and load for state, federal, and municipal work today.
Okay. Thank you very much.
J.P. Harbison, then J.P. Bowman, then J.P. Pine.
First, may I ask Mr. Gales a question?
Go ahead.
He's frowning at me. It has to do with roads, because we've had, you know, roads are one of my important issues. So I understood at some point that a county road.
Yeah. J.P. Harbison, let's just go ahead and finish with Mr. Terminello.
I want to try to solve this problem.
We're going to have deliberation where we're going to be able to, you guys will be able to have discussion, and if you need to bring in some of our people, we can. But I want to make sure we finish with Mr. Terminello before we can go ahead and get the public in. So hold your question for Chief. Did you have any other ones? You don't have anything for Mr. Terminello?
Has to do with Rich Road, but, you know, I do have a question, because if I understood you in your discussion, you were going to extend Rich Road through your property once you're finished mining down to Harmon Road. Did I understand that?
Yes, ma'am. The first open cut will be to lower the western mountain ridge to an acceptable grade, and my intention is to build Rich's Road to an acceptable county standard and provide it as public access for the public eventually, once it's brought to grade.
But this is just through your property. It's not if I understand correctly, Rich's Road goes out on Highway 16.
Yes, ma'am. My property adjoins Rich's Road, the dead end to the north.
It dead ends at your property.
Into the property, yes,
Right.
ma'am.
And so if you're going to extend Rich's Road, because this is my question, I understand that there's 60 feet, 30 feet from the center of a county road that belongs to the county by state statute.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that was my question for Carl, because if we have that, why can't we go on and fix Rich's Road now and let you exit that way?
That would be, boy, this is the first time anybody's provided a solution. Praise God. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, we'll circle back with that one on the deliberation. J.P. Bowman?
Thank you, Judge. You know, I met with one of your leaders of this group from the community out there, and in talking about this thing, he made a comment to me that if we get the traffic off of Harmon Road, that'd solve 90% of the problems. And you know, that's one of the things I think we need to think about tonight. And you know, I drafted something here, and you may not think it's germane, but you give me a minute, I think you'll get the gist. I said 50 years ago, America put astronauts on the moon. At that time, I was a young serviceman for Tyson Foods working with producers in remote areas of rough gravel roads. The standard joke I received was, did you hear about the astronaut got killed on the moon? And my response was, no, what happened? And their response was, a Tyson feed truck ran over them. You know, I don't know how many times I heard that joke, but it was regular. As a result of these feed trucks running these rough county roads, great prosperity came to the people who were living in very inadequate homes and with very low income. After a number of years, these same people were living in nice brick homes, driving new pickups with fat cattle grazing all over the hills. Now we're facing a dilemma with trucks again hauling different commodities. If Northwest Arkansas is going to continue to prosper, we're going to have to deal with increased traffic of all kinds. Do we start restricting the rights of one company or person from driving the public roads? We're talking about public roads. What about school buses, Walmart trucks, bread trucks, fuel suppliers, and other suppliers of all kinds of necessary supplies to keep our area growing? It did not seem difficult. It does seem different to get off the track, but we're trying to approve the dirt pit operation, or is it an attempt to restrict traffic on Harmon Road? That's most of the complaints, is restricting traffic on Harmon Road. That is a public road. How do we say to one trucker, you can't go down this road, and another we're going to say you can't? Washington County has a responsibility to provide roads that are safe to drive on for existing traffic. Washington County will provide those services on Harmon Road.
J.P. Bowman, we're going.
Yes.
You got a question for him?
Let's be sure we're focused on primary responsibilities. That's
Okay,
it.
I got you.
That's my comment.
All
Thank
right.
you.
J.P. Pond, and then J.P. Washington.
Mr. Terminell,
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure I understood the plan correctly. If I did, I mean, I don't look at this kind of stuff every day. So I want to make sure this is correct. Your plan or your permit is only for, it's for 4 acres at a time, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you'll be reclaiming the last 4 acres. You're going to be reclaiming property as
we
you
go.
gradually move to a different 4 acres.
We'll start, Butch, we'll start at the north ridge and we'll work our way south.
All right.
And we'll drop that ridge to accommodate what will eventually be the extension of Rich's Road that will tie into the portion that we just built.
Okay, now, for the most part, one of the things that we've come up and had to answer to for most of these dirt mining sites is, and it's usually the biggest fears of the neighborhood. Forgive me, but I'm going to bring it up.
Please do.
When he gets all that red dirt off of there, that's all the overburden from the limestone. The overburden, you're you're just extracting the overburden from the limestone, but you're recovering as you go. So therefore, you're putting overburden back on the limestone.
Two things, Mr. Pond. We're excavating, not blasting, red dirt. I've had geotech bore and core the entire farm, meaning run a drill bit down. I've run it 80 feet on all 4 of our bores without any heavy resistance, meaning that the limestone cap is farther down than 80 feet, farther than my plans are to go. We will topsoil and revegetate the reclaimed area. If anybody should care or have an interest, I invite anybody on the court, all the JPs, judge, county officials, anybody in this room. Tomorrow, I'm in town all weekend other than the ball game, to visit with me at our Johnson mining operation in Johnson, Arkansas. I have 100 acres of reclaiming going on and a 60-acre mining zone right now. In that case, we are going down to the top of the dome and to the pinnacles because I have an intended use for that 30 acres, which is an outdoor amphitheater and music venue. So I have an intended use for that mining operation to reclaim it into a civic and public space. The case of Rich's Road and Mark Rich's old farm, my intended use is to reshape the farm, 4-to-1 slopes coming off my adjoining neighbors that I have to keep 50 feet from by mining regulatory guidelines, and then building a road through the property that accommodates those 4-to-1 slopes that come into it. So there's a lot of cases around this county where somebody goes in and does one of these, they dig a pit. There's an example of it over on Hamstring. Years ago, I don't know who owned it, it was Reb or whoever went in there, and that place looks like a bomb went off over there.
I got to correct you on something.
Yep.
The proper name of that road is Hamstring.
Hamstring, sorry. Sorry, I'm just a hillbilly. I barely made it, yeah.
If you were a hillbilly, you'd understand.
Thank you, J.P. Pine, thank you.
You know, I do want to make one comment here, and it's going to be very unpopular with some very good friends of mine and some of the neighbors in that area. What they're not looking at is you're actually providing a buffer between them and the blasting, because you're a developer. You're not going to be doing blasting. You're really a developer. You're not really a miner. You just want the dirt.
Butch, I use dirt every day in every job that we do. I supply it to 8-pack, Navaholts, every contractor, the University of Arkansas, cities, municipalities. The dirt has to come from somewhere, okay? And yes, we plan to supply it to all the agencies, federal, state, county, municipal, and to our preferred customer list. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
J.P. Washington.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Terminella, you reiterated that you have no intent to tread on your neighbors. So the question that I have for you is that after the intended use of this property, you said that you plan to reclaim a portion of it. So what happens if additional mining needs arise? Are there any accountability components in place to ensure that everything that you're telling us tonight actually happens and that you keep your promise of not treading on your neighbors?
The Open Cut Mining Act requires you to put a bond up with the state of Arkansas for reclamation. And small site, less than 20 acres is what I'm doing. You can go back and re-permit and re-permit and re-permit and expand that envelope depending on what your needs are. My needs are to supply the material not only for our own jobs that we have a vested interest in, but the jobs for state and federal work as well. And I hope I answered your question. We're going to mine and reclaim as we go, and that's the regulatory framework from the state of Arkansas. So they've changed that, obviously, since '91, because there's a lot of places within the county that didn't fall under those guidelines and have that framework. And those areas are, some of them rather unsightly, okay, and are a scar on the land. I just looked at a 1,000-acre site here in the county that I've just contracted that had been dormant for 20 years. And, the things have changed. You can't just go out and have no consideration for the environment or for the surroundings or for your people that are around you, stormwater, air quality. All that is important. And here again, the biggest mistake people make about me, they assume without ever talking to me. And rightfully so. I feel it. I sense it. There's some unresponsible, there's people that haven't operated responsibly. They're rascals. And their mission was to get in there and hog dirt and have no consideration on the environment or anything around them. Well, don't confuse me with that. There's only one guy in this county that has their operators reclaiming 2 of the biggest mining sites in the county, and they'll turn out to be repurposed in the cattle pastures full, and one day you'll never even know they'd been mined. And one's the Luttrell Pit, and one's the 100 acres in Johnson of the old APAC quarry. Thank you for your question.
All right. At this point, we want to go ahead and transition to our, thank you, Mr. Terminello.
Yes, sir.
At this point, we're going to go ahead and transition and have the public come. Again, we're going to ask people to respect those who are coming up to visit. We'll have a 30-minute time clock for you guys, and Chief, come on.
I just want to, if I can, I know I spoke earlier.
This the public.
It's a different deal, but I want to clarify a couple of things. I'm Rick Chrisman, 15607 Sumac Circle. You were asking Mr. Crouch about the speed limit stuff and whether he couldn't or wouldn't answer your question. The question is, the speed limit sign was changed before any study was ever even done. So that came from that man. So that's what happened there. They did the study a week before school started, but the speed limit had already been changed. So they put the cart before the horse. And we have an email from Nathan, or from Carl to Nathan, stating Nathan's asking, basically, I spoke with Mr. Terminello yesterday about site distance, Weddington Mine access, Hall Road, since, I'm not going to read it all, but the bottom line is, said also, what is the speed limit at this location? It's not posted, so is it automatically 50 miles an hour, which law says it is, if it's not posted? Carl responds, well, we'll review this road and speed limits on Monday, and Monday was the 22nd. The speed limit was changed on the 23rd, the very next day, to comply with an earlier notes that Nathan had done about the distance that's required, line of sight distance. So it is clear to me, in my investigative world, that the speed limit was changed for the sight distance. Plain and simple. There's no other explanation for it. I don't know why you would change the speed limit without doing a survey first. I think you got questions of Carl and Nathan to figure out that. But I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
I have a question about what he just said. No, you got to do it in public comment.
I'm Dick Johnson, 13650 Pin Oak Road, lived there 45 years. Harvey, that was a very eloquent statement. Mr. Terminello, that was an excellent presentation. Let me cut to the crux of this, and then we're going to present our situation. When I talked to you, Harvey, I agree with everything you said about progress, about roads, about all the things that Washington County needs. But if you stand by that road as Willie did with me Monday afternoon, and an 18-wheeler comes down there at 60 miles an hour, there's no way that somebody doesn't get killed with a loaded dump truck pulling out there, guys. I'm telling you, there's no way to be safe. Safety is and always has been our #1 issue. I want to be clear about that. We hired Ernest Peters. He's been in the traffic engineering business since 1982. One of the most respected traffic engineers in this state. He's testified before groups all over the state of Arkansas and the United States. He did a study on the same stretch of road, a comparative study with the 2014 study and the 2019 study by the county. And right now, I'd like to present to you Mr. Ernest Peters.
Mr. Ernest Peters. This again, name is Ernest Peters, and where are you located down in Little Rock?
My name is Ernie Peters. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm the president and principal engineer with Peters and Associates Engineers. And as Mr. Johnson indicated, I've been doing this kind of work for 37 years as a part of Peters and Associates, and for 8 years prior to that for city and county government. What I'm going to focus on today and hope to be able to impart some factual information to all of you and answer whatever kind of questions you have is going to have to do with safety. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Arkansas and a dozen plus other states. My specialty is traffic engineering. I studied as a fellow with the Federal Highway Administration for graduate study in the field of highway safety, and I believe that I have the level of expertise and knowledge that I can factually give you information related to this matter and hopefully answer any kind of questions that you may have concerning what I've done and what I've found. What I did was focused on the traffic safety associated with the proposed Hall Road intersection, which now exists as a paved roadway where it intersects Harmon Road, and what the conditions are presently relative to the safety of that intersection. And in doing this, I looked back at the facts associated with the decision that was made back in 2014. I've summarized the factual information related to that. I've presented this document, and I believe that Nathan Crouch has had a copy of it. I'm going to highlight some of that this evening, but let me go back first to what the county's findings were back in 2014, because I believe it's relevant today. The county found then, as a part of the decision that they made to deny the permit that was request that was before them, that with the speed limit that was then posted at 45 miles per hour on Harmon Road, that the required intersection sight distance, and there's a value to the, as you look to the left, and there's a value as you look to the right that is appropriate. And these are standards that are set out in the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials document called, commonly called the Green Book. It's a policy on geometric design of streets and highways. It sets out standards that have existed for as long as I've been in business and haven't changed on how it can be determined what's safe and what's not. What goes into that is the speed on the intersecting roadway, that is the speed on the through road where the intersecting roadway comes in, and it has to do with the alignment of the roadway and any obstructions that might exist to limit sight distance. But going back to 2014, what the county found then, and is in the record, was that for 45 miles per hour, they determined that the required sight distance was 628.4. They got down to the 10th of a foot feet was required to the left, and they did not calculate a value to the right. They concluded, based on their field observations, their measurements, that the sight distance to the right was not an issue. So they focused on the value to the left, which is not inappropriate. They also tabulated the value, calculated and tabulated the value for a speed of 35 miles per hour, even though the posted speed was 45. That value was 488.78 feet, they calculated. As I do the calculations myself, I find the same values. Now, I also found calculated values for the sight distance to the right, because both are important, because vehicles could approach from either direction as a vehicle was pulling out from the side street. Back in 2014, the county did not have the speed data that Mr. Crouch referred to that was done back in July of this year, which indicated that the 85th percentile speed, and that's the speed at which or below 85% of the people travel, and conversely that means 15% of the motorists go over that speed, but it was at 48 miles per hour. So the county didn't calculate a value based on the 48 feet. I did as a part of my work, and I'll tell you what that value is. That's 671 feet to the left and 600 feet to the right. Now, the other thing that I did was to go on site, and with my technicians, we measured what is available to a motorist on the side street, the Hall Road, looking to the left and looking to the right on Harmon Road. What we measured and determined was that the sight distance to the left is 435 feet, and I believe that's not too dissimilar to what the county found back in 2014. I believe their value was 246 feet, so we're within 10 feet of measuring the same value. And I found that the sight distance to the right is 730 feet. Those values compare for today's posted speed of 35 miles per hour. That doesn't mean that's the speed people are traveling at, but the posted speed that the county has determined is appropriate and they want people to travel at. The value for sight distance to the left should be 489. So we're short on sight distance to the left. We're not short on sight distance to the right for the posted speed. That value calculates to be 438 feet, whereas we determined in the field that 730 feet is available. So the sight distance issue has to do with what is available and what is needed for motorists to safely enter Harmon Road. Now, the appropriate vehicle to consider is a large vehicle. Large vehicles have different operating characteristics than a pickup truck or a sedan or a motorcycle. So there is allowance for that in those AASHTO Green Book standards. And that's what the county did back in 2014, and that's what I did in 2019. And I've come to the same conclusion that the county did back in 2014, and that is that even for the lowered speed limit of 35 miles per hour, the sight distance simply is not available to safely turn dump trucks to the left. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we've done. I'd be glad to try to provide more information or answer any questions.
Okay. Is that, you finished with your part? Okay. Any other public comments? We're going to take all your 30 minutes, and then you guys can come and the JPs will be able to ask you guys questions.
I need clarification. I'm understanding that the 30 minutes is our presentation part.
Now, come on.
Public comments.
Pardon me?
My name is Terry Davis Beaupre. I filed an appeal, and my understanding that this 30 minutes is for our
That's
appeal.
correct. So you come in.
Not public comments?
No, it's your time to talk. This is a public
Okay.
comments.
I'm not sure who you are.
I have a quick question.
That's right.
Can we stop the clock,
That's right.
please? Can we stop the clock, please? And I'll let this woman ask her question.
Okay.
My name is Nancy Johnson. I live in Springdale. I would like a qualification of who the gentleman, the police officer, was referring to when he said the speed limit sign was changed according to that man. Was he referring to Mr. Terminella, or who was that man? Because there was an empty seat here. So I want to make sure he's not accusing Mr. Terminella of getting a speed limit sign changed. The Cave Springs policeman who lives in Washington County.
There I am. I was outside.
Who are you referring to?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on, Ms. Davis.
She has 17 minutes and 13 seconds.
Thank you.
Ms. Davis, you said?
Yes, my name is Terry Davis. I'm sorry. I'm going to plug in a videotape of Mr. Jim Hendricks before I give my portion. If I can figure out how to get this thing open. All right. Nathan? Hold on, let's back up. So I do that first? Escape? You sabotage me. Ah, okay, thanks. All right. Now let me see if I can push play. Which one is it, Dick?
Oh, boy.
Public 46 master?
Yeah.
All right. Does it do anything?
I'd just like to say, I had, right before school started, I called Jeff Crowder about the speed limit change, and he told me it was for safety. Jeff Crowder, my working county supervisor, he's contacted when I need roads, for inclement weather or whatever he do, I call him. And I asked him, I said, Jeff, there hadn't been anything unsafe out there, there's no wrecks or anything, what's the problem? And he said, I was just told it was for safety. I asked line of sight, and he said it had nothing to do with that. I said, okay. The speed has been 45 for 30 plus years that we've lived out here, and there is no issues on this stretch of road, except for the hill when it's icy, that's going to happen anywhere in the county. But I'm going to say that when the dump truck takes up to 9.5 seconds to turn left, how long does it take them to get up that hill? Because about 5 years ago, and this is honest God, everybody's got these now, the world is all about me. Everybody is all about me. So about 5 years ago, I had to drive the Whittington Woods route. I pulled out. Buses are grossly underpowered, no doubt. They're not like a Ferrari. People call them speeding all the time, but they're not a Ferrari. So I pulled out here, and I was less than halfway up the hill. Now here he went. I was about halfway up the hill, and the car behind me passed me on the hill. So if I didn't take this dump truck, it's going to take 30, 40, 50 minutes to get up that hill. We're an impatient group. That's the way our society is now. So this isn't, I told the planning commission, it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. But by lowering the speed limit, my Savoy bus that comes through here, she told me just the other day, going 45, by the time she hits the top of the hill, is 25. Now going 35, she's down to 15. So instead of making things safer, you've actually swayed us the other direction, because a car that does, nobody drives 35 through here. I mean, the road's rated for 45, the hill's rated for 58. So the hill's rated for 58, Mr. Price is complaining about 60. I'm sorry, 2 miles an hour, I don't think the police chief's going to write a ticket for 2 miles an hour. But all we have done is sway the pendulum to the unsafe side, not the safe side. Because a car going 45 or 50, which is what they're used to driving, they're going to come up on the back of the truck on a blind curve that you can't see very far, and you'll see that there's no bailout zone. So it's not if, it's when. and I'm going to be the first one to testify from all the 2015 stuff. There's such a paper trail with all the counties saying there's no reason to change the speed limit. Juliet Ritchie, Sean Schrum, A. Clay Grote, the county engineer, all said this road is rated for 45 miles an hour. And Mr. Rich tried to get it lowered to 20 because he knew at 20 miles an hour he had his line of sight. Even at 35 with a dump truck, you do not have enough line of sight. 440, you need 488. You still don't have the line of sight. Mr. Fast is the wrong part. So it's not if, it's when. As county employees, school employees, we all have immunity as long as you can't prove negligence. But when this goes through and somebody dies and they have that history of why the road hasn't been changed, the road hasn't changed, the hill hasn't changed, the entrances haven't changed, there's a paper trail of why people should say it's 445. Whoever votes for it is going to lose their immunity because they can lose negligence because they know on this end that it's not right. So when this goes to court, I'll stand up and testify.
Yeah. Could somebody give these to the JPs for me so I can get started? We don't have a whole lot of time, I know, so I will talk as fast as I can.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, come up into your microphone.
I'll get right up in here in it. Okay, where is that little button at? And then this goes up and down. Good, I got it. All right. First of all, I want to do my name's Terry Davis Beaupre. I live at 16035 Beechnut Lane. Mr. Chrisman came up here and told you that there were 51 accidents on the 8-mile stretch of road between Fayetteville city limits up to Highway 412. That's in a 5-year period, not just 1 year. That's less than 10 accidents a month, a year. Good evening, JPs. I wish I could say that it was good to see you all again. I'm to blame for this overly large appeal package that I hope you all received. I know I'm just showing you a picture of Judge Wood right now. It's okay. He's got a nice face. So we'll just keep it here for a minute. All the residents of my neighborhood, Weddington Woods, were shocked when we learned that we were again faced with the prospect of a proposed red dirt mine across the street. A lot of us are asking why and how this can be. The response that we've been given is that a lot of things have changed in the last 4 years. We have a new judge, new chief of staff, new county attorney, new planning director, new road superintendent, and a few new JPs. Oh, and a new property owner. But the county ordinances haven't changed. Maybe it's just that some of these new people view us differently now. I think I'll just start here with Judge Wood. We see that he has a degree in business administration, and his profile says he is keenly interested in development and economic growth. But growth and development are not the same. And his new planning director? I'll get to that in a minute. I came to this area in 2004 for a job. As you can see, that was a time when this MSA was the 6th fastest growing in the country. This snapshot on the right of the screen shows the area population in 2013. I believe we're now above 500,000. There has been a lot of growth in the area, and along with that comes expected growing pains. The next slide will show you some of those pains. During the August 22nd, 2019 Planning Board meeting, Nathan Crouch discussed all 5 mine locations shown in brown on this map. The intent was to display all the mines in the area, so why not just add another? The previous slide is important because it tells a story about growth. This slide tells a story about what happens when industrial development in an area is unregulated. So, these county ordinances were put into effect. All of the mines on the previous slide were grandfathered in. One began way before the growth boom, and all the others began operation around the year 2001. These ordinances were created as a way to stop the Wild West behavior in the county and as a means to protect property owners from the types of things that have happened to the residents in the Hamstring Road area. These older mines didn't have to comply with any of the ordinances because the mines were already in existence. For the planning department to support the mine for the permit applicant in this way is simply comparing a lot of apples to one big fat orange. Part of the reason we seem to be having trouble this time is because of the way the planning director is framing the situation. Some of this is just foolishness, but we still need to point it out. Here's an enlarged area of a map that was presented to the planning board and again to you today as partial justification that the permit applicant's mine would be okay in this geographic region, that it was compatible. Look closely at the slight color variation. Here is the larger map that the smaller one was taken. Wait a minute, what happened? Hello? I'm missing a file. Interesting. The larger map you saw earlier. The larger map was taken, where the smaller one was taken from. This too was presented in the planning board meeting. But I draw your attention to the area that was highlighted on the previous slide. This little area up in the top left-hand corner. The difference is that this area is not residential compatible to surrounding densities. You can see the difference by looking to the north a little, where there is an area designated this way closer to Highway 412. Also, please look below the legend on this map. It specifically says not to be used as a zoning map. Oh, there it is. It suddenly showed up. In addition, this time our planning director just allowed the permit applicant to flippantly make check marks on a piece of paper without doing any real work or research. This means that we have to prove why a quarry should not be put here instead of the other way around. See the permit applicant's comment about compatibility? And while we are on the subject of the permit applicant, these aerial images of the parcel of land we are discussing, these are aerial images of the parcel of land we are discussing today. He bought this parcel in July of 2018. Now, in 2017, Johnson Mine LLC was denied a permit to convert a part of their dirt pit mine in limestone to quarry in Johnson to a limestone quarry. So this is why the Quorum Court had to issue a cease and desist order in November, but they were not fast enough. On October 3rd, 2018, ADEQ performed what they call a reconnaissance inspection. It says a violation of an Arkansas Water Control Act had occurred, that construction activities were occurring without permit coverage, and those activities must cease until permit coverage was obtained and stormwater BMPs were implemented. ADEQ spoke with the permit applicant on October 11th, during which time the property owner admitted his dirt mine intentions. ADEQ then sent a follow-up letter informing him that corrective action documentation was required. When they received no response, they sent another letter to him via certified mail, which was returned, unclaimed, to ADEQ on January 17th, 2019. On November 1st, 2018, I had a telephone conversation with Charles Ward of the County Road Department. We were discussing the continuing work being done on the Hall Road to the property. He told me that all he knew was that the permit was for a farm road. When I remarked about the width of the road, he said, "I've seen it." I would really like to see what is underneath all of these black marks. My attorney has FOIA'd the county 3 different ways for this, and they have still not produced an unredacted copy. On November 15th, 2019, the Washington County Quorum Court directed the county attorney to issue a cease and desist order to Weddington Mine LLC. The order was dated 12 days later. On June 4th, 2019, I'm sorry, that was your Article 1, the unredacted copy. This is your Article 2. On June 4th, 2019, the permit applicant contacted Washington Water Authority to inquire about a water hydrant installation. You can see the email from Josh Moore to Nathan Crouch the day after the tech review meeting. The permit applicant said at the August 22nd Planning Board meeting that there is no secret, there is no deception. We bought the farm for the minerals, and, quote, I called the road superintendent, and I called the director of planning, and I called the chief of staff at the time we were building the access road into the property, and they indicated to me that I would need to have a bond, a permit with the county. But the description on this October 24th permit says dirt work on existing driveway. The Google Earth image on the left shows the existing driveway. After 3 FOIA attempts to get a copy of the paving permit, we finally got it the day before yesterday. That's your item number 3. It was issued 2 weeks after he received his mining permit, but the words Hall Road do not appear anywhere. All of this talk about building a road is important for 2 reasons. 1, the permit applicant was not required to reveal that he was building a Hall Road while continuing construction, in defiance of ADEQ notifications. At this point, I'm not even sure if the planning department would have put the brakes on. 2, he evaded setback requirements that would normally be imposed for a Hall Road with this type of industrial activity. While we disagreed with the previous property owner's proposed red dirt mine, at least he tried to follow the planning department procedures and didn't just go ahead and put in a road. You can see in the appeal packet, Mrs. Ritchie wanted a buffer of 100 to 150 feet from the Daub-Jorgensen property. The photo on the right shows the current setback. Oops. Oh, wait a minute. The photo on the right shows the current setback at the northern boundary between the permit applicant's road and that property. You can see the corner posts on the left side of the photo. The setback looks to be about 10 feet. So why, during the planning board meeting on October 22nd, did Nathan Crouch make no mention of this setback problem? Instead, simply stating that, quote, now that the proposed Hall Road has been constructed, the site distance has been accurately measured. Obviously, all of this evasion was designed to help line of sight requirements for the permit applicant. I don't dislike the permit applicant. I don't know him. But I don't appreciate his behavior and the tactics he's employed to get this road built. And I'm shocked at the level of disrespect he has shown for county ordinances and state codes and regulations. This permit applicant also has a long history of being out of compliance on his other mine in Johnson. These are all matters of public record and are referenced in Dr. Brahana's letter, which is Exhibit 22 of your appeal packet. The permit applicant finally made attempts to prevent stormwater runoff at the Harmon Road location almost 4 months following his first violation at this site. These erosion and sediment control measures have since failed, causing more stormwater runoff conditions along the road. I would also like to point out at this juncture that the current application for a CUP at this location is for the entire 60 acres, even though his current mining permit only covers 20. If you grant this current CUP now, he will be able to expand his acreage to the full 60 at any time in the future without coming back to you, without any public comment periods, and no further considerations. Here's a March 1994 historical image of our neighborhood from Google Earth. Also, here's a graphic from the recent planning board meeting showing the location of the proposed mine. Each one of these little dots is a house. The planning department may not want you to know how many homes in our neighborhood, but I will tell you, it's over 300. In fact, our subdivision began in the 1970s, probably even before some of you were born. These are Google Earth images from 2014. When this issue first reared its ugly head, and the most recent imagery on Google Earth. Obviously, we're a very large, stable neighborhood, and nothing much has changed over the last 5 years. The number of houses that are across the street, how heavy industrial equipment is loud, smelly, and dangerous. Harmon Road is still a narrow, shoulderless road used by our neighborhood residents in their cars, trucks, and school buses. The hill is still steep. Red clay dropped off a truck will still get slick when it gets wet, and the laws of physics have not changed. I don't know why certain people are trying so hard to push this square peg into a round hole. Maybe it's this economic growth machine like many other local, state, and federal power structures has adopted. It's all about efficiency and profit. I'm not saying these economic engines are bad in and of themselves, but our neighborhood is simply not the proper place for this application. The developer has admitted his intention to use the minerals from this proposed mine for sale to contractors building future interstate interchanges in Fayetteville, his own development properties in Fayetteville, and lastly to the county, possibly for roads. None of these are revenue producers for the unincorporated areas of our county. This recent article in our local paper spells this out. County revenues have been shrinking every year due to the higher immigration ratio of city dwellers. I know all of you JPs are facing this problem now. Since the only positive effect of this mine for the county will possibly be for the roads, which is not a revenue source but a cost to the county, and proven property devaluations adjacent to industrial activity like these mines is inevitable, the county stands to take a 30% with every affected home. This red dirt mine would basically create a tax-based drain to the county. It's a lose-lose situation.
Okay, Mrs. Davis. How much is that your last page or last paragraph?
I need probably 2 minutes.
You got someone suspend the
Call to
rules?
suspend the rules to allow Ms. Dupree to finish.
Motion to suspend the rules.
How long is it?
2 minutes.
2 minutes and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Mrs. Davis, go ahead.
Back to the ordinances. Hopefully you've read the documentation in my appeal packet regarding property values. This research paper is an important one, in fact mirroring what has happened to the property values along Hamstring Road. Also provided to you is documentation from a local executive real estate broker and attorney outlining her reasons for why you should vote against this red dirt mine. She said, "I have never heard anyone ask me to find them a home next to a quarry." If you've had a chance to review the documents from 2014, you would have noticed that many of the JPs that voted in our favor back then cited Ordinance 4 at least as one of the many reasons that the first CUP was denied, and even JP Ecke noted that Ordinances 5 and 6 were her reasons for voting in our favor 5 years ago. We fully expect this matter to go further into litigation. It would be helpful again this time, as the county attorney advised you all the last time, to state the reasons you vote tonight, as future courts will look at the ordinances and your reasons for casting your vote. It is clear that the Planning Department submitted a strategically slanted presentation to the Planning Board. Had the Planning Board been able to see some of the documentation that had been omitted, we feel that they probably would have voted in opposition to the CUP, and I can understand what Nathan Crouch meant this time around when his response to Ordinance 4 says the dirt mine, can be made compatible with the surrounding residential densities. How can you make a red dirt mine compatible with a subdivision across the street that has over 300 homes? The permit applicant's response for this just says, Hunt Rogers Group. When Steve and I bought our house in 2007, these ordinances were already in place. We had a contract with the county to protect our property values, the quiet enjoyment of our residents, and the promised safety of our neighborhood. We trusted you to keep that promise. And the last time around you did. We are trusting you to keep that promise again.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have anyone who's going to field questions, but JPs, do you have anything for the public? JP Jenkins, you have anyone? You're just going to
Anybody?
JP Jenkins.
So I just wanted to further a comment that you made, because I've done the research. You did a wonderful job of sending us a package full of good details and solid research, so I thank you for that. I do. And so in it, I scoured through the Quorum Court February 12th, 2015 minutes, and I was just curious. You said Ms. Ecke, and I'd just like to quote her from that meeting. She stated that if she could come up with an alternative access other than Harmon Road, because it is the safety issue that the neighbors are verbalizing loudly. Ecke stated that she is citing criteria 5 and 6 in support of property rights.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Harbison
Ms.
said...
Jenkins, is this a question for them?
No, it's not.
Okay, let's get the question. Any questions?
I will just confirm what she said.
Okay. Questions? Public, JPs? All right. It's time for you guys now to deliberate on it. Deliberate. JP Jenkins.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, no, this is a matter of public record,
JP Jenkins, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Judge. So, and then in it as well, it was voted 11-1 for the denial of the permit for the last red dirt farm that wanted to utilize this property. Those who voted against that are currently sitting on the quorum court are J.P. Bauman, J.P. Ecke, J.P. Harbison, both Madisons, and J.P. Pond voted to deny this CUP in 2014, all stating the reasons quoted in that particular appeal process. So with that being said, I just am curious if anyone decides to change their mind on that, why? And if anyone would like to
J.P. Pond.
respond, that'd be great.
I will respond. At this time, the present developer he's met all the conditions that were required of him. It's was not the case last time, and it's been the history of whether it's a dirt quarry or whatever it is that comes before us. When the conditions are met by the planning staff, the conditions the planning staff required, and the conditions that the planning board required, all a developer has to do is go to circuit court, appeal it. If we deny it, appeal it, and the judge decides to, sends orders back to us to go ahead and write the man's permit, or lady, whatever it might be. As a matter of fact, we had one recently that we denied and had the developer gone on to circuit court. That the development would have been approved by circuit court, and we would have been told to approve that one. So in some cases, we have developers who decide, well, they don't want to do business in that neighborhood because they don't feel welcome. I don't like this situation any better than anybody else. But what I'm saying is, in this situation here, the developer has clearly shown that he's reclaiming the property as he goes through and making it suitable for his own subdivision of housing. There's a positive thing here for the neighbors in that they're reclaiming this. They're covering the limestone back up instead of leaving it open for limestone quarry afterwards. That gives you a substantial amount of buffer between the developed neighborhoods and the existing limestone quarries. I'd a whole lot rather be a neighbor to another neighborhood that goes in where people are going to be living than I would that thing becoming, growing into a full-fledged quarry. There's several reasons here why, and even though unpopular as it is, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see somebody else come back and say, well, as a matter of fact, we won't have to worry about it because when this goes to circuit court, they're gonna grant this permit.
Okay, J.P. Pond. Okay, all right. All right, okay. Thank you, J.P. Pond. J.P. Madison, then J.P. Harbison, then J.P. Ecke.
Since my vote in 2014 is of record and I voted to deny the CUP, I think I need to explain to the neighbors tonight why I'm going to be changing my vote to an abstention. I think that Mr. Terminella's attack on me personally tonight and what I'm doing on my personal property shows all of you why I need to recuse in this matter, so I will be abstaining.
J.P. Harbison.
That has the effect of a no vote, though, just so you know.
J.P. Harbison.
I feel the CUP is going to pass tonight, but I still want us to look at the alternative road of the Rich Road, of opening that road up for the dump trucks to use that road. He's willing to give the county a road later once the pit's finished, but I will vote no because I think we have an alternative. I think he can mine his dirt and not disrupt the road, the neighbors in Weddington Woods, and it takes the traffic off that hill. That's the only, it's the visibility to the left and that hill. So anyway,
J.B. Harbison,
I
thanks.
don't want to deny him his property rights, but I think we have a safety issue there. Thank you.
Thank you, J.P. Harbison. J.P. Ecke, and then J.P. Hires.
Thank you, Judge. I move that the quorum court action on the Weddington Mine CUP be approved. I make a motion.
Just to clarify, that would then be a motion to approve
The
item
CUP.
19-109 to grant the CUP, is that correct?
19-1-109, item 19-1-110.
There's a motion to ratify 19-1-109.
Excuse me.
And a second.
I
Discussion.
have a point of order. I thought there was an ordinance in our packet here.
All right, there are two. There's one that you could pass to grant and one you could pass to deny. So there's an option.
So one is being picked right now.
With motion
correct.
to- Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Got a motion?
I'd like to speak for myself since everybody else is speaking for me. The motion was to approve. Thank you, Judge.
There's a second.
There's a motion on the floor as approved, second by J.P. Bowman. Go ahead, read the ordinance.
This is an ordinance granting a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustments. This is on a first reading, so if there doesn't move to a second reading, there will be no public comment and no discussion.
I'd like to suspend the rules and advance it to second reading.
There's been a motion to move to second reading. Second. As a second, All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Miss Patty, would you roll?
Butch Pond? No. Lance Johnson? Yes. Susan Cunningham? Yes. Harvey Bowman? Yes. Judith Yanez? No. Patrick Deakins?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Sam Duncan?
Yes.
Chandra Washington?
No.
Eva Madison?
No.
Andrea Jenkins?
No.
It's denied.
Suki Hires?
No.
Sue Madison?
No.
Willie Lemming?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
It does not move on to a second.
It doesn't go to the second reading, so we'll just move to next month's agenda. Thank you. So we move on to item number 10.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair,
J.P. Madison.
I'd like to move that we pass the ordinance to deny. Will you read that? Is that appropriate, Mr. Attorney?
To do a denial?
Do what now?
A motion to deny the...
We had two ordinances in the
Right, you could,
package.
yeah, you can make a motion to pass that one, but it'll be the same thing. But yeah, you can.
Well, I'd like to move that we read the other ordinance then and that it pass, if I could do
A
that.
motion to deny the CUP. And a second. So we have a motion to deny the CUP and second by J.P. Jenkins. Go ahead and read that one, Counsel.
An ordinance denying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustments.
All right, so we got a motion and a second to deny.
No, it didn't need a.
Oh, yeah, the numbers are the same.
But it means.
So you want to suspend the, yes, you want to suspend the rules?
You only vote after the third reading.
Suspend the rules and read the second time by title only.
Is a second. So we got first and second, to suspend the rule and read second.
You're talking about
On the
To
denial.
clarify the denial, read the denial a second time, is that correct?
That's correct.
You'll need to do a roll call vote.
Read the title.
No, I don't have, this is a motion to suspend the rules. It just has to be.
Oh, okay.
no
Go ahead,
discussion.
Ms. Patty. You're voting on the denial, you're voting on the denial of the CP.
You're
Suspend
voting,
the rule.
the motion on the floor is a motion to suspend the rules to read.
Read for a second.
Right.
To deny.
A motion on the floor to suspend the rules for the second reading.
For item 19-I-110.
Butch Pond?
Yes.
Lance Johnson?
No.
Susan Cunningham?
No.
Harvey Bowman? Judith Yanez?
Yes.
Patrick Deakins?
No.
Lisa Ecke?
No.
Sam Duncan?
No.
Chandra Washington?
Yes.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins?
Yes.
Suki Hires?
Yes.
Sue Madison?
Yes.
Willie Lemming? Ann Harbison? I have
So that-
8.
That one fails, so it'll move to a second reading.
So it goes to the second as well. Okay, so item, where are we? Item 10, J.P. Harbison.
Ten or 11?
10.
Or 11.
Item 11, I'm sorry.
This is J.P. Madison, Sue Madison.
Is that the, not the ones?
And this is the consent agenda. Johnson and Smith Residential. Go down, it should be down here.
Where?
This consent agenda. Hold on. We've done all that. We've got past this, so we are at 12.
Oh.
Mr. Lester.
J.P. Harbison, I'm sorry, we're
Yeah.
on J.P. Madison.
Yeah.
Oh, let's give 2 seconds, let the audience leave, I'm sorry. J.P. Harbison, we're going to go to J.P. Madison.
Okay.
Her emergency CEP, number 12. But when they leave.
Mr. City County Attorney, would you please read?
Yeah, when they leave, they'll, look.
They're essentially gone. Let's go.
I know.
Already done yours.
You have each on the ordinance, you passed a rule that says you can only speak 2 times.
Okay. Let's go ahead and resume.
Okay, sorry. This is an emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Thank you. The Planning Board recommended this conditional use. I've driven to the property today. It was my great shock to find out that part of my district had a little island of county in it, and this is that island. The conditional use, if granted, would make it be compatible with the surrounding property. In fact, some of the lots are smaller. The board recommended that they share a driveway.
Judge, point of order. Could we wait until it quiets down?
Can you help those guys? Thanks, Josh.
Get them out. Yeah, let go.
Continue.
Should I repeat
No,
myself?
go ahead.
Okay. I would ask that this ordinance, the conditional use be granted. The houses are modest, and I think it's a family thing to split it so somebody else can buy one of the houses. There's 2 houses there.
You got a motion? We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Josh, I'm sorry. Where'd he go? Nathan? Nathan, will you pull those, thank you, pull those doors shut? Any discussion? Public comments? Public comments, Ms. Patty?
Butch Pond? Lance Johnson? Susan Cunningham? Harvey Bowman? Judith Yanez? Patrick Deakins? Lisa Ecke? Sam Duncan? Chandra Washington? Eva Madison? Andrea Jenkins? Suki Hires? Sue Madison? Willie Lemming? Ann Harbison?
Okay. The ordinance passes. J.P. Lemming. Did we do that one? No, item 13, J.P. Lemming.
What this is the Mon Group has got a 40-acre tract out at the northwest corner of Washington County, and they love to play soccer, and they have soccer tournaments and everything out there. And what they're doing is putting a gazebo in and a bathroom in. And I just got through putting a road in for them, it was probably 1,000, 1,500 foot worth of road, and it's, they're ready to go on it. It's going to be a good thing. I'd like to pass it.
Motion to pass.
Second.
244 and 59.
We got a motion, we got a second by, who's the second? J.P. Pond. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any public comments? Public comments, Ms. Patty?
You read it?
Oh, yeah. This is an emergency ordinance ratifying a conditional use permit granted by the Planning and Zoning Board.
Butch Pond?
Yes.
Lance Johnson?
Yes.
Susan Cunningham? Yes. Harvey Bowman? Judith Yanez? Patrick Deakins?
Yes.
Lisa Ecke?
Yes.
Sam Duncan?
Yes.
Chandra Washington?
Yes.
Eva Madison?
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins?
Yes.
Suki Hires?
Yes.
Sue Madison? Willie Lemming?
Yes.
Ann Harbison?
Okay, that ordinance passes. All right, now we're going to you, J.P. Harbison, on the remaining consent agenda items, 1 through 7. I mean Butch. Butch, yes.
I was not aware you were going to put me on here as a sponsor, but seeing as how you did.
They all came out of personnel, that's how that works.
I might take the privilege of pulling these at this time. I don't think it's timely. I think they might have a better chance of passing after we get farther along in the budget and see if the county employees of the whole are getting it.
Okay.
What's the motion? Are you pulling all of them?
I'm moving to pull all of these that contain a salary increase.
Just for clarification. So you're moving to postpone these until the next meeting?
I'm postponing I'm moving to postpone these until we have come far enough along in the budget to see if the county employees overall will receive a raise.
We need a time, though. We put it in there.
Budget, November 12th.
November 12th? Is that your finance and budget meeting?
December. I think,
Well, we're supposed to
No,
discuss
that's time.
salaries on November the 12th.
all right,
Okay.
very good.
All right.
At the advice of the.
Okay. So go back, J.P. Pond, what's your
The advice of
motion?
Madam Chair of the Budget Committee, that meeting will be good, the 12th.
November 12th. So
No,
there's a
no.
motion.
It'll be the November Quorum Court meeting, because this has already gotten here, so it won't be, if you're postponing, it has to go to the next meeting. So the
All right.
November Quorum Court meeting, is that correct? Making sure I'm writing this right.
Okay. The next
So-
finance meeting.
All right, so again, you're postponing the 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're postponing the 7 consent agenda, well, they were consent. You're postponing the 7 items to November's Quorum Court meeting. That was a motion, and it was a second. Discussion, J.P. Duncan?
Is it debatable?
I thought a motion to postpone to a date certain was not debatable. It's when it's to postpone indefinitely.
Do a quick check.
It is debatable. Postpone to a certain time or postpone definitely is debatable.
Okay, J.P. Duncan?
So we already had a discussion on this. We already voted on this. I don't see any need to postpone something that we've already made a decision on. I think it was brought to Quorum Court. So you already made a decision on it. Let's vote again. Let's stop postponing things. We don't need to be any slower than we have to be.
J.P. Jenkins and J.P. Hires.
That decision, thank you, Judge. That decision was made in committee to be moved to full quorum court, for the full quorum court to have the discussion and have that vote there. So nothing's been decided. It was decided in committee and then brought to us as a full body.
So that's why I want to vote for that.
Okay, J.P. Hires.
I just want to reiterate what she said. We were encouraged to push this through committee without discussion so that we could have the discussion in front of the full quorum court. I think that it's late. We've been here for a really long time, and we are not far enough along in the budget process to be making big decisions about big raises. So I'm in support of postponing this to next month.
J.P. Ecke.
Point of clarification. The reason we have it on a consent agenda is because we all voted for it.
Go ahead, J.P. Ecke.
Never mind. I move that we adjourn as soon as possible. Thank you.
So J.P. Pond had a motion. It was seconded by J.P. Madison. Any other discussion?
Hold on, whoa. Motion to adjourn is a privileged motion.
And I seconded it.
Oh.
There's a motion, hold on, I gotta write it down, sorry.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn. Lisa Ecke, and it's been seconded. These are not debatable, so you just need to take a vote.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? No. Ms. Patty?
This is a
That's
vote to
correct.
adjourn. The motion on the floor is a motion to adjourn.
Butch Pond,
Yes.
Lance Johnson,
No.
Susan Cunningham, Harvey Bowman, Judith Yanez, Patrick Deakins, Lisa Ecke, Sam Duncan, Chandra Washington, Eva Madison, Andrea Jenkins, Suki Hires, Sue Madison, Willie Lemming,
How many yeses and how many noes we got?
It doesn't matter. Meeting adjourned.
Ann Harbison.